Hello. Today has been bananas. I'm a little bit late, so my deepest apologies for that. My deeper apologies that, not that. It's going to take me a few seconds to get set up here. Let's close the window. Let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, my house flooded. Not nearly as bad as when people say my house flooded. People mean, but I'll wait till people are here and then I'll say something. Okay, sorry, I just told Discord I was running late, so let me post on my story too, because I know sometimes people check and I wasn't here last week and all of that. It's a lot. Or dream, but we are live. Okay. Let me put the link. Let me turn my other light on. Walmart parking lot. Join us. Okay, let me turn on my little light and then I'm going to do my background while I tell you guys about the flood. Something's been preying on my downfall. And then last week we overheated. I was actually so upset about that. Last week when my phone overheated, I was like very, very livid and angry. I feel like it's too bright. I was very livid and very angry. Is that going now? And I was so mad that I was like, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. So let me go to Solid Core. And then the coach at Solid Core pissed me off too. So yeah. Not bad. And you guys can't see it. I know from your perspective, this all looks so normal, but all my spray tan equipment is set up there. I had to climb over it to get into here. Let me mess around with this little light. Currently listening, all working on classroom setup. I hope you're at least in a different time zone and you're not there until the wee hours of the evening. Am I a beaver? Because damn, I'm glad we got class. We have class in a lot of different ways. So let's first talk about my house flooding today. So there was not a flood. If I'm being kind of weird about this, it's because we still have not worked out what's going to happen with our insurance. So I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go because because flood insurance is extra. And I don't live in an area with flood risk. In fact, I looked at the flood assessment and it literally said my house was like least likely to flood out of everything. So why would I have flood insurance? But it torrentially downpoured today. And while that was happening, water started coming in. And we are not sure if a pipe burst and the rain overflowed what had been building up because there was a lot of water under the house, way too much for it to have just been from today. So we're not sure if a pipe burst or something. Don't give the insurance reasons to deny exactly because we're not really sure what the cause is. But a guy came, shop vacked it out, dug around our house so that hopefully it won't happen again. They have to come rip up all of our floors and rip out the walls and investigate. And then the insurance is going to see if it's going to be covered. So yeah. So it's not like there was a biblical flood and there's a foot of water in my house. That's not the case. But it just through the bottom. Very much not fun. Do not stars. Insurance love to say crazy shit and not cover it. Yeah, which would really suck. And I did have a moment of gratitude. Yeah, we already cleaned the gutters. There's things that were I don't know. I don't want to talk about it a ton more. I just wanted to tell you what happened, and that's why I was running a little bit late. But honestly, I was running late not because I was dealing with flood stuff, because the guy came, they got the water out, whatever. But that took a while, and I really wanted to shower and eat something before this. So that's what I was doing it. They're so picky because it's terrible. Yeah, so pray for me. Everyone recommend this stream to someone and tell them to subscribe so I have money to pay for this. But I did have a moment of real gratitude because the guy was here and he was telling us rough estimates and we were looking at the insurance and all of that. And he was like, do you want me to stop? And I was like, damn, imagine not being able to do it at all. Because, like, yeah, it sucks that it's probably going to be super expensive. And, like, regardless, we have a high deductible. So, like, yeah, it sucks. It's going to be expensive as hell. It sucks that we're going to be living in a construction zone. It, like, all of that really sucks. And it's, like, it is financially stressful. But it is not financially detrimental. Like, that's the line to me. You were like the Hoover Dam. No, literally. I was like, where's the Hoover Dam? I need it here right now. Like, right now. Exactly. Like that. Because he was like, okay, because a lot of people, if they're not sure if their insurance is going to cover it, they don't want me to do anything. And, like, regardless of our insurance, like, we're going to have a safe place to live. I'm not going to live in a house with water damage, and we're in a financial position to be able to do that. But it just sucks. I don't have to tell you guys. It sucks. What are we streaming about next week? Jennifer Tilly. I'm making my little graphic. Yeah, I'll just put this here. But tonight is going to be a very, very good stream. I actually had a ton of fun putting this together. I put it together a couple weeks ago. And it really slays. Oh, this is a good picture of her. We'll use that one. So yeah, I'll let people join. Oh, damn it. That's not what I wanted. Merp. Love when you have a break between making them and presenting to us. Yeah, because some of it I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's gonna be good. A lot of it I do remember because it was like way more interesting than I thought it was gonna be. The same thing that always happened, shocker, where I'm like, oh, this will probably take me like an hour or two. Hoover Dam, easy topic. I thought we were mainly gonna be looking at construction pictures. And then I was like, wait, this is crazy as hell. This is awesome. I'm thinking of sub-teaching while doing my mat. Any advice? I think that is amazing to do sub-teaching while you're doing your Masters of Arts in Teaching. They are going to make you student teach. How long is your master's program? Send me an email. We can't talk here. So it's awesome because you'll be able to get work done at school. That's great. It's also particularly awesome because you will be able to build relationships with principals and you'll be able to see the vibes at different schools and it'll help you figure out where you want to work and what you want to do. But I hate student teaching for no money. It's something I refuse to do. So once you start subbing, build relationships with principals. There we go. And one of them might hire you on a provisional because when I did my mat, my teaching position was my student teaching and my department head was my mentor. So I could get paid for doing my job. Yeah, email me. My email is miss@missredacted.com. So feel free to email me. I probably won't answer you for like a week or two because again, my house flooded. I will answer you. Okay. Let me get this. Kerchow. It's 2, and yes, 1 semester of student teaching, mostly subbing for money because Matt is in person. Yeah, so sub for money, and you'll be able to do your schoolwork at school, especially if you're subbing for high school. And yeah, I think you should definitely do it. Did you see Angie and Whitney on the news? I know. I am heartbroken, especially after I defended Whitney's marriage so hard for like over 2.5 hours, where I was like, leave her and her old husband alone. Time for the gym, but have a good stream, besties. I'll watch the replay later. Bye. Having an adult bevy. Who's to say what kind? Let me go live on my phone, too. Man, what is that happening? My house will be okay. So this is the other thing, is it's like, it's only in one part. It's just in one area. It's not the whole ass house because our house is a split level. So, like I said, things could be far worse than they are. They're definitely not good, but things could be worse. Things could be significantly worse. Okay. Going back to the deep dive history streams, I'm excited. Exactly. No, I started watching Salt Lake City because of your streams, as you should. Okay, so we're only starting 16 minutes late. Is it thundering outside? It is not, but I have been moving around a lot of things. So, woosah. We're happy to be here. We are fine. Everything's fine. Things could be so much worse than they are, and they're not. They are definitively going to be okay. We are here to talk about the Hoover motherfucking Dam. Why the Hoover Dam? Because I went there and I'm obsessed with it. I was obsessed with it before, but now that I've been there, I'm even more obsessed with it. This is going to be one of the bougier things I've said. I have seen it from a helicopter. I saw it from a helicopter years ago, but being on it, you're like, this is huge. Because when you're in the sky, it's like hard to see. Because this is really cool. If you ever get an opportunity to do this, you should do it. I got to do it because someone else paid for it because I was on a group trip. I did a helicopter tour of the Grand Canyon and it was dope as hell. That's when I saw it the first time, and that was back in I don't know, maybe 2016. It was a long time ago. Did you do the tour and go in? No, I really want to do the whole tour. So this is when I was touring, doing comedy, and we had to drive from Vegas to Flagstaff, I think. And we were like, is there anything we can do on the way? Like, is there anything cool we can see? And the Hoover Dam was right there. So we did kind of a self-guided tour. We just literally drove there, parked, and walked around and read the little plaques for like an hour. But I want to do the tour. But you have to I think reserve it and stuff. And like I said, we just literally impulsively were like, let's go look at the Hoover Dam right now. So I've been to there. Look at us. Look how fucking short I am. The way I look like I'm a different species than them. Also, I bled through my pants at the Hoover Dam because I thought that I was just sweating. Because I was like, damn, feels moist down there. Probably because it's 112 degrees outside. And then I got in the car and I said, oh, there's blood everywhere. Oops. I should make new merch idea, writing it down. I was free bleeding at the Hoover Dam. Unintentionally, but you can wear it and do it intentionally. Going in is so cool. Sometimes you can do a walk-in tour. We need misredacted merch. See, you had the same idea as me. I bled through my pants at the Hoover Dam and all I got was this t-shirt. That is funnier. I'm using yours. Thanks. That's so good. And the way I'm with two men. Like, what were they? They're not gonna... I don't even have anyone to turn to. What, am I gonna be like, oh, does one of you have a fucking tampon? No, they don't. They don't. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. I wanted to start us off with just some fun Hoover Dam facts. This is going to be very history vibes. A little bit of science vibes, but mainly history. For those of you on TikTok, you have to come to Twitch to see the pictures and all that stuff. The implication that you keep wearing the bloody shirts but get to wear two shirts. They're like, we know that you bled through your shorts, so we have a t-shirt for you tied around your waist. They're your bodyguards. They should guarantee once you. One time when we were snowed in Fort Wayne, I made Lou drive my car to Walmart over the ice because I needed tampons. Because I was like, he's married, so I was like, okay, you're qualified for this. And I was like, because I don't know how to drive in ice, but he lives in Colorado. So I was like, hey, I need you to take me and my car to Walmart because I need something. And he was like, what do you need? Do you need it right now? And I was like, yes. And then he did. And then he literally, he's really giving, your friend's dad. That's the vibe that he gives off, is your friend's dad. He goes, I'm going to go stand in electronics. Text me when you're ready to leave. At the Hoover Dam, I did have tampons. It was fine. I just didn't realize. I literally just, got my period at the Hoover Dam, and then I put one in and it was fine. Imagine a normal person who finds this on YouTube, and they click, oh, informational video about the Hoover Dam. I'd like to watch that. And the first 15 minutes is me talking about my period. I have tried the menstrual cups and disc. I don't really love them. I'm not super into it. I like the discs better than the cups, but I don't know. Call me traditional. I like a good old-fashioned Super Plus tampon, baby. So we're going to start off here with some facts about the Hoover Dam. When it was completed, it was the tallest dam in the world, and that was in 1935, and that was the tallest dam until 1945, but it is still one of the largest concrete dams ever built. About 21,000 workers worked on it, about 5,000 people were employed at its peak, and before the dam, the Colorado River was very unpredictable and would damage farms and communities. Like, it was just like weaving and wagging and going anywhere, which... Side note, like, is what it's supposed to do. That is how, like, soil is good and gets fertilized and, like, ecology, science, etc. Like, rivers are supposed to come up and move and all that. Like, that's their natural state. But that's not good if you want to build a town next to it. It's not really conducive to that. Before the dam, like I said, the river was crazy, and the Hoover Dam made it possible for big cities out there like Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and Phoenix to develop, because not only do they provide reliable water, they also provide electricity. Only 21 minutes late, not bad. I was 10 minutes late, and I've been talking about my period the whole time. So Lake Mead is the lake that was created because of the dam. It provides drinking water to 16 million people. It also irrigates 1.5 million acres of farmland, and a lot of food grown in the U.S. is grown in California and is watered by this. Sorry, I just had pizza rolls. And the Hoover Dam produces 4 billion kilowatt hours of electricity each year, which is enough electricity to power 1.3 million homes and reduces our reliance on fossil fuels. So the dam contains enough concrete to build a 4-foot sidewalk from all the way around the Earth's equator, or a highway from San Francisco to New York. That is how much concrete is in this dam. I cannot reiterate how large it is. You drive up and it's just fucking huge. So this is it from the back. This is kind of like a back shot view of the dam. I know, damn. Look at that fucking concrete. Like, it's astonishing. And especially when you're there in person, you feel just like a little pea. Like I literally felt like a little Lego person. So some more cool stuff. I don't know why I felt like I had to sell you on this topic. Like, you guys weren't going to be excited. So, despite how large it is, it was completed 2 years ahead of schedule. 2 years! And isn't it prettier? Because I thought the water was going to be, like, dingy and gross and, like, brown. And no offense to brown water. There are many fake lakes that I go water skiing on that are muddy and disgusting, and I come out of the lake visibly dirty. So no tea, no shade. I just thought it was going to be brown and gross. But when I looked over the ledge, Stephen and Lou did not like this. I literally climbed on top of it to, like, hurl my body over the side because I wanted to see better. But, like, I can't fucking see anything. I'm a foot shorter than everybody. It's, like, pretty and, like, lagoony looking. It's very, very pretty. So I didn't know construction could be finished ahead of schedule. No, literally. Literally. Like, mind you, mark my words here. Today is Tuesday, August 4th. The house flooding situation, they said end to end to get everything fixed. Like, it's going to be about a month. I guarantee you it will be longer. Guarantee it. So, despite its enormous size, it was 2 years ahead of schedule, and the final concrete was poured in 1935, and they started producing electricity in 1936. So, it is one of America's 7 modern civil engineering wonders by the American Society of Civil Engineers, and revenue repaid the entire construction cost with interest by 1987, because they sell the electricity. Like, electricity costs money. So, I am also super into this topic because I am a big proponent that investing in infrastructure is a good thing for the economy, is a good thing for the country, and is a good thing for everyone, and expensive investments do pay off, and I think this is a great example of that. I also had plumbing issues this week with my house. They said they had to fix it and then come back to fix their mistake and the original issue. Man, they got that done just in time for World War II. No, literally. They literally did. There's construction going on in my hometown that's older than I am. Precisely. So this is really how I'm feeling. I'm really on my Leslie Knope shit. I felt like Leslie Knope when I was there. I feel like Leslie Knope right now. I felt like Leslie Knope when I was working on these slides. I'd love more infrastructure streams because I'm also very into it. Feel free. I have a Discord. Feel free to go in the Stream Ideas channel and give me infrastructure ideas because I love an infrastructure project. I really, really do. My landlord fixed my leaking window with plumber's putty and also said that he would paint over the mold for me. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So we're going to go back to the history of the dam because Rome isn't built in a day and neither was the Hoover Dam, even though it was ahead of schedule. So we're going to go back all the way to the late 1800s. I think that that's very relevant. So think about what's happening in the United States in the late 1800s, post-Civil War, not civil. So the Civil War ended in 1865. If you watched my Civil War streams, you know a big part of the reason that our country got to the point of Civil War was westward expansion. Yes, the Civil War is over slavery, and as we added new states, there was a lot of disagreement about if those new states were going to have legal slavery or if they were going to have slavery be illegal. So the slavery status out west is a big part of the reason we got pushed towards the Civil War. Because before we expanded west, the South had very intense slavery, and the North was like, I pretend I do not see. But then as we went west, people up north were like, I don't like slavery. I do not want it to go out west. And the South was like, we'd make a whole bunch of money though. So had you considered that? We could sell these people and bring them out, and then we'd make money. Nope, y'all hadn't considered that. So that is kind of westward expansion is always going to be connected with slavery. Slavery and westward expansion in the Civil War are always going to be interconnected with each other in our country's history. So all that to say, West is very new. Slavery is illegal. That's where we are right now. Lots of enslaved people actually left the South and went out west during the late 1800s because they could get cheap or free land out there, and slavery was illegal out there. And there was a lot of people were like, there's more economic opportunity in building your own farm than there is in being a sharecropper. And I go through all this super in depth in my Civil War streams and my Reconstruction streams. And I have done a Hurricane Katrina stream. That is one of my older ones, and it's one of my favorite ones that I've ever done. Really important. And no, the person late from the dentist, you do not miss anything important. So, late 1800s, slavery is illegal. It's been illegal for a fair amount of time, 20 years, so not like generationally, but a while. And this is also when our country is going through an industrial revolution. So we are getting widespread railroads for the first time. We are getting industry factories for the first time. We are getting so many things for the first time. We are also slaughtering the indigenous people out west and exploiting anyone who is vulnerable. The federal government literally told white settlers, kill them. Go out there, kill them, and take their land. And that's what was happening. So the Hoover Dam exists in the context. Like, the Hoover Dam did not fall out of a coconut tree. And the Hoover Dam exists on the slaughter of indigenous people, with slavery in the background of our country, with lots of literal refugees, in my opinion, moving out to these areas to escape the economic hardship in the South. And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize is we all think of like the white settlers going out west, and there were a lot of white settlers going out west, but there were also a fair amount of black settlers going out west as well, and people of other races. Like there was more diversity out west than I think most people realize. So what we're about to talk about is not post-Dust Bowl, but construction is. The Dust Bowl was in the 1920s. So the Dust Bowl also, it did affect this area, but this area was not hardest hit. Oklahoma was the hardest hit. So a search for resources. Most cowboys were black or Hispanic. Yes, the first cowboys were black. I'm so itchy and I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. Wow, I didn't know I needed this. We all need this. And for those of you on TikTok, if you come to my Twitch, it's free. It makes you make an account, but it is free. If you come to my Twitch, you get to see like the maps and the pictures. We have a couple videos. So, as the United States developed the Southwest in the late 1800s, the Colorado River was seen as a potential source of irrigation water. They attempted to divert the river in the late 1890s when a land speculator is someone who steals other people's land and then sells it, built the Alamo Canal just north of the Mexican border, and the canal dipped into Mexico before running into a desolate area named the Imperial Valley. So water from the Alamo Canal allowed for settlement of this valley, but it was very expensive to operate, and there was a catastrophic breach that caused the Colorado River to fill the Salton Sea, so the Southern Pacific Railroad spent $3 million to stabilize this waterway in 1906. So that's why I was like, we had the Civil War, we're having westward expansion, it's a time of industry, railroad companies are making lots of money. Many years ago, Miss Redacted did a stream on the original Cowboys. I can't remember if I did that, or I think I might have talked about it in a westward expansion stream. I did talk about it, but I can't remember what the title of the stream was for some reason. So the railroad companies are very motivated to stabilize water in this region. And you can see on this map, it's kind of small, but there's Arizona and Mexico, and there's California and Mexico, and you can see this canal is kind of like on the border of each of them, and a lot of it goes through Mexico. Also, keep in mind, like, the borders of Mexico used to be very different. A very significant portion of the American Southwest was Mexico for like a very long time. That's why it always like gags me when people in Arizona are like, we want Americans! Like, baby, look, you're in Mexico. Like who are you talking to? So, the Southern Pacific Railroad Company tried to stabilize it. An amount it hoped in vain that it would be reimbursed by the federal government. The federal government did not reimburse them, I gather. So even after that waterway was stabilized, it proved unsatisfactory because it's on the border of Mexico. So like that's not that convenient. People are arguing over the land. There's disputes. Anytime anything breaks, you have to go into Mexico. Like dealing with an international border is not ideal for a waterway that you're using to irrigate like your crops and all of that stuff. My hometown in Ohio also has a Hoover Dam, so I was initially confused why you're doing the stream on a city of 8,000 that we used to hang out at in high school. So this area did not have like a super great situation water-wise, and as the technology of electric power improved, Lower Colorado was considered for its hydroelectric power potential. So in 1902, the Edison Company, or the Edison Electric Company of Los Angeles, surveyed the river in hopes of building a rock dam that would generate 10,000 horsepower. So at the time, the limit of transmission of electric power was 80 miles, and there were very few customers in that area. So they basically were like, we're not going to do that because electricity could only go 80 miles away, and it just wasn't the vibes. So they allowed land options to lapse. So even though this electric company like put their stake in it and was like, we want to do something with this, they ended up not doing it because they didn't have the technology at the time. So I don't understand that. Like where they're talking about kilowatts and the speed of electricity and technology, I don't know. I took science at a Christian school. I've told you this before. That's simply none of my business, unfortunately. Like, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Love this slide because I just, I don't know. So, 1904, this is the river view of what would eventually become the Hoover Dam. So that's why when someone asked, like, what about the Dust Bowl? It did affect this area, but you see it's a lot more mountainous, so it's like the wind isn't as bad in terms of picking up and dropping off dust. It's not as intense as it was in the Great Plains. So, in the following years, the Bureau of Reclamation considered Lower Colorado as the site for a dam, and their service chief, Arthur Powell Davis, proposed using dynamite to collapse the walls of the Boulder Canyon into the river. The river would carry off the small pieces of debris, and the dam would be built incorporating the remaining rubble. So they were like, all right, we're going to blow up the mountain. Right? And then we use mountain chunks and we build a dam. Huh? You can tell this is like the early 1900s. Technology is not that good yet. So after considering it for several years, the Reclamation Service was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. They were like, so would that even work? They just didn't know if it was going to work. They were like, so we blow up the mountain and then what? And they were like, we don't know if that's going to save money to just blow up the mountain. This is kind of boring, so I'm going to speed through some of this. I don't know, it makes perfect sense to me. Me too. Fuck it. Just blow up the mountain. Were you once a Walmart parking lot, or am I tripping? That's still my @name. I don't know why people, if you like look up my @name, it's a Walmart parking lot still to this day. I thought old cartoons were exaggerating. I think they were like underdoing it. So in 1922, the Reclamation Service presented a report calling for the development of a dam on the Colorado River for electricity and flood control. The report was principally authored by Davis and was called the Fall-Davis Report after Interior Secretary Albert Fall. And this cited the Colorado River as a federal concern because the river basin goes through many, many states and eventually ends in Mexico. So that's why this is different than just building a dam in your town, because you're damming a river that goes through multiple states, and the Hoover Dam itself is on state lines. So it ends up being a federal thing. So this is a sketch of the proposed dam in 1921. This is when they were like, okay, so we're not going to blow up the mountain. Like, that's just not what we're doing. My dad worked for the Bureau of Reclamation and wired a dam in Wyoming. Your dad is a hero to me, and I would like him to join us. Becoming a teacher so I can periodically label lecture slides with boring. I do this with my class too. I'll be like, this is boring, sorry. But I loved this picture, and I love the arrow. They're like, see, the dam's gonna go right there. So you can see where the Colorado River flowed, and it was just going anywhere, and they basically want to put a wall on it, build the wall, and hold the water back to make this reservoir. And then it's kind of hard to see, but if you look in the top left corner, it says Grand Canyon with an arrow. The Grand Canyon has always been there. Well, not always, but we can blow up a little bit of the mountain as a treat. They did get to use a lot of dynamite. They did get to blow stuff up, just not the entire mountain. Sorry, I want my adult beverage. So, the Fall-Davis report called for a dam at or near Boulder Canyon. The Reclamation Service found that canyon to be unsuitable. One potential site at Boulder Canyon was bisected by a geological fault, and others were too narrow, so there was no space for a construction camp. Because obviously, if you're going to build it, you have to have like people and things around there. So it's not just like where would it work best riverly and gravitally. It's like, where the fuck can we put all of our stuff and all of our people? So the service investigated Black Canyon and found it ideal, and realized that a railway could be laid from the railhead in Las Vegas at the top of the dam site. And despite the site change, it was still referred to as the Boulder Canyon Project. So in this general area, they looked around at a couple spots and they picked one, basically for a variety of reasons. So with little guidance on water allocation from the Supreme Court, proponents of the dam were afraid that there was just going to be like tons of lawsuits about it. So Del Carpenter, who was a Colorado attorney, proposed that the states create an interstate compact and get it approved by Congress. It is California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming. They are all in the Colorado River. The Colorado River goes through all of them. So you cannot just dam a river and be like, good luck to everybody. They all kind of have to be on the same page. So these compacts are authorized by Article 1 of the United States Constitution, but had never concluded among more than 2 states. So they basically, the Constitution does give states the right to create a compact between each other, but it's not that common, and it's only ever been between 2 states. So in 1922, representatives of the 7 states met with Herbert Hoover. At this time, it's the 1920s, Herbert Hoover is the Secretary of Commerce. Commerce is business. Initial talks produced no result, but when the Supreme Court handed down the Wyoming-Colorado decision, undermining the claims of the upstream states, they became anxious to reach an agreement. That's like a whole lawsuit. We can't get into that right now. We have so much to talk about. Like, we're literally only like 16% done with this, so maybe we'll talk about that on another day. But a separate Supreme Court decision made this more stressful, and they signed the Colorado River Compact November 24th, 1922, because I guess the states that are upstream didn't have any rights at all So they were like, let's just sign this, because at least then we get a seat at the table, is what I think happened. So legislation to authorize the dam was repeatedly introduced by 2 California Republicans. Keep in mind, the Republicans back then are not the Republicans today. So, like, don't be like, they're Republicans, because it's a whole different thing. So just, like, that's another conversation. Don't worry about it for right now. So Phil Swing and Hiram Johnson kept reintroducing legislation for it, but representatives from other parts of the country were like, fuck that. Because again, it's multiple states, so it would be like a federal thing. And so the rest of the country is like, oh, California wants a dam? Good thing I don't care at all. The fuck does that have to do with me? And then in 1927, there was a huge flood in Mississippi. And this made people be like, oh, that's why you want a dam? That keeps happening? Because again, the Colorado River is moving all the time and just flooding all these random towns constantly. So because there was a flood in Mississippi, people like cared a little bit more. On March 12th, 1928, there was a failure of a dam near LA, and that killed 600 people. And that dam was a curved gravity type, similar to the dam that was proposed at Black Canyon Dam. So opponents claimed that the dam's safety could not be guaranteed, so Congress authorized a board of engineers to review the plans. And the Colorado River Board found the project feasible, but warned that if the dam failed, every single Colorado River community could be destroyed. So they're like, it'll work. Maybe. Well, who's to say? The board cautioned to avoid such possibilities, the proposed dam should be constructed on conservative, if not ultra-conservative lines. So when they're proposing this dam and when they're proposing this idea, it's like in a time that it's fucking scary and people are dying from floods a lot. And like, it's a very actual real issue and the technology is newer and we don't really know what we're doing. So all that to say, longevity and safety of the dam was a high priority to them because read the room. So on December 21st, 1928, President Coolidge signed a bill authorizing the dam, and the Boulder Canyon Project appropriated $165 million with the downstream Imperial Dam and the All-American Canal, a replacement for that other canal that was on the U.S. border. So remember the Alamo Canal and the All-American Canal that we were saying wasn't so good? That's in that yellow line right on the border of Mexico and the U.S. And then you can see where the Colorado River is. And then it's about 5 hours apart. I just literally Google mapped it and screenshotted it for you. A part of the country wants vital infrastructure that might require tax dollars. Hell no. And no, I don't know the budget of the Pentagon. Why do you ask? So they also permitted the compact to go into effect when at least 6 of the 7 states approved it. And this occurred on March 6, 1929, with Utah's ratification. So because 6 out of the 7 states agreed, they were like, you're in. Arizona didn't approve theirs until 1944. Like, bitch, the dam is done. The dam opened in 1936. Like, what are you actually talking about? What's wrong with you? Genuinely. And it's like partially in Arizona, which kills me. So even before Congress approved it, the the Bureau of Reclamation was considering what kind of dam they should use. And remember, there was like a lot of death because of flooding. So they're really into making a good dam right now. They wanted to do a concrete arch gravity dam, and it was overseen by engineer John Savage. I love that name. Fucking, I'm John Savage. I'm the dam engineer. Like, that's kind of a hot name. I don't know. Was he hot? I'm gonna look it up. John Savage. Oh, apparently he's an actor. Probably not the same guy. Engineer. I don't know how to spell engineer. Okay, so he's not attractive at all. No one look him up. I'll show you. Like, maybe he was hot when he was younger, but jump scare, sorry. Not hot. Also constantly reminding myself during the stream of how slow news traveled at this point. Of course, a hot name is wasted on a white man. I'm John Savage. I just feel like it's kind of like a tall, dark, and handsome kind of name, but it's bald and warm. It's just fine. So, the monolithic dam would be thick at the bottom and thin near the top and present a convex face toward the water above the dam. The curving arch of the dam would transmit the water's force into abutments in this case rock walls of the canyon. A wedge-shaped dam would be 660 feet thick at the bottom, narrowing to 45 feet at the top, leaving room for a highway connecting Nevada and Arizona. You can drive over it. We did, because we were kind of lost. On January 10th, 1931, the Bureau made bid documents available to interested party at $5 a copy. So basically, if I own a company and I want to fucking do the dam, I can pay $5 to see the documents and see the plans, and then I can like draw up my estimate and proposal. So the government was going to provide the materials, but the contractor had to prepare the site and build the dam, and the dam was described in very detailed language, over 100 pages and 76 drawings, and a $2 million bid bond was to accompany the bid, and the winner would have to post a $5 million performance bond, and the contractor had 7 years to build it or penalties would ensue. So, what the fuck are they talking about? I was really confused by this. What is the bond? I don't understand. So companies want the job, so each company had to submit a price, their bid, being like, I can build it for $10 million, I can build it for $100 million, I don't know. And a $2 million bid bond. The contractor provided the bond to the U.S. government. So the government does not get $2 million, but basically it is a legal guarantee that the company has to give the government $2 million if they fuck up or they don't do it. So they have to on paper be like, I have $2 million and I will give it to you if I fuck this up. So you can gather this is really important to them. So then the government picks a winner, like who's going to build the fucking dam. So let's say Company A wins. Now Company A has to provide a $5 million performance bond to the government before construction begins. Again, they are not giving the government $5 million, but basically they have to pay $5 million if they fail to complete the project. So if something goes wrong, then the government can claim their money from the bond to cover any losses and to hire a new contractor. So if Company A successfully finishes the Hoover Dam, no one has to pay out the bond. It just basically is a guarantee, but they never needed to use it. But this was important to me. It was really bothering me that I didn't understand this, and I wanted to be able to explain it to you. I also feel like this is an example of the government holding companies like very high standards and responsible. Because you know they didn't do this for the reflecting pool. Like, I feel like now the government just like hires their friend. They're like, oh, my friend has this company, and then that guy just does it. And they do a terrible job. That was weird. My camera like glitched for a second. Let me know if you can still hear and see me okay. It says I'm still live, but that was a little weird. Like now the government is just like, oh, we'll have our friend do it. And in this process, it was like, no, you want to build the fucking dam. You have to pay money to see the plans. We're not just going to fucking show you the plans. And you have to guarantee us $7 million if you fuck up. You know? My dog is locked in. He gives a damn about this, and so do I. So the Wattis brothers, the heads of the Utah Construction Company, were interested in bidding on the project, but they did not have money for the performance bond, and they lacked sufficient resources, even in combination with their longtime partners, Morrison and Knudsen, which employed the nation's leading dam builder, Frank Crow. So everyone's like, you gotta get Frank Crow. Like, Frank Crow is the fucking damn guy. You gotta get Frank Crow. So they formed a joint venture. So multiple companies together are gonna work on this together. And that's how they're gonna have this performance bond, because it's a lot of money. So they formed a joint venture with the Pacific Bridge Company of Portland, Oregon, the Henry J. Kaiser and W.A. Betchel Company of San Francisco, McDonald and Conlint of LA, and the J.F. Shea Company of Portland, Oregon. And their joint venture was called the Six Companies, as Betchel and Kaiser were considered one company for the purposes of six in the name. Why did they want to name it Six Companies? Why not Seven Companies, since there were 7 companies? Why would you not name it Seven Companies? Because it's a racist joke. Yes. They were like, I know, let's make a racist joke in the bid for this damn project. That'll be perfect. So they called it the Six Companies because the Six Companies is also a Chinese benevolent association. I didn't know what the fuck this was, so I looked it up. The Chinese Six Companies, officially known as the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association, is a powerful umbrella organization formed in San Francisco in the 1850s by district associations representing Chinese immigrants from specific regions in China. Money is back then money, not today money. I don't even know what it would be today, but it's back then money. So a lot of fucking money. So literally, like, they didn't have to make this joke at all. Like, no, it's not even a good joke. If you're going to make a racist joke, it better be fucking funny. And this one isn't. It just pissed me off that you have an inaccurately named partnership to make a racist joke about a group that has nothing to do with this. Like, what are you doing? So, the team of racist come together. There were 3 valid bids, and the Six Companies bid was the lowest. They said they could do this project for $48,890,995. They were like, we can get it in for under $50 million. Was with closest within $24,000 of the confidential government estimate of what the dam would cost to build, and $5 million less than the next lowest bid. So their bid was way lower, and it was very close to the estimate, and the government did not tell them the estimate, which I think is very smart. And this is what I mean. Our government is not moving in this way anymore to try and make companies give them a decent price. Now I feel like they overpay for everything, and it's bad. So let's get into it now that we know who's building it. The city of Las Vegas wanted to be headquarters because they were like, come here, we'll make money. So when the Secretary of the Interior, Ray Wilbur, came to Vegas, Vegas closed all of its speakeasies, which is hilarious. Benevolent as in charitable giving, right? I think benevolent, so going back to the Chinese people, keep in mind the Chinese people were being horribly discriminated against this time, especially by railroad companies and by housing and so many things. So I think this society was kind of like a union-ish. It was like a group to act on behalf of a group of people that was being really oppressed. And it's the 1920s, so we are in Prohibition. Alcohol is fully illegal at this time. So Vegas is like, shh, we're not doing alcohol, shh. Come build the dam. We'll be the headquarters. We're not doing alcohol. So it didn't work. They didn't want to use Las Vegas. So Wilbur, the Secretary of the Interior, announced that we're not going to use Las Vegas. We are going to build a city near the dam called Boulder City, Nevada, and construction of a rail line was going to be done. They were like, yeah, we're not living in Vegas. You guys are fucking crazy. We're not doing that because it's kind of far. And it's Las Vegas. Do you want them to build the dam or do you want them to be drunk? So the dam site began in September 1930, because obviously you need to have somewhere for all of the workers to go. After the dam was authorized, people just started showing up. Because keep in mind, it's 1930. The Great Depression, the big crash, Black Tuesday, that was in 1929. Right when this was starting, and now it's 1930, and everyone needs a fucking job. So, Las Vegas only had 5,000 people. Las Vegas was a very small town. 20,000 unemployed people just showed up. Think about that. Think about a town of 5,000 people having 20,000 unemployed people come in and be like, heard y'all were building a dam, need any help? We're here. Which is insane. Which is absolutely insane. All of the bonus army after they walked the country for jobs going back to where they came from. No, literally. And Leanie, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for anyone that subscribes who can help me redo my floors after there was a leak and water went everywhere. Hee hee hee. Oh, this created Vegas for real. Yes and no, like you are correct, but also because now Vegas is going to have electricity and water. So it wasn't just the workers. It was also like now you have electricity and water, so people want to be there. We should do an episode like all the Great Depression jobs, like pulling native current plants. My husband and I would be there. Give me that new damn money. So here's all these random people pulling up to build this dam. A government camp was established for the surveyors and the other personnel near the dam, and it became surrounded by a squatters camp. Because again, they have not started the dam at all. So they haven't hired anybody. It's just the surveyors and the people that already worked for this company who were like, oh, we'll just camp for a couple days, we'll survey the land, and then we'll get going. And then 20,000 people are just like, hello. Heard you guys are working on something. So this became known as McKeersville, and this was home for men that were hoping to work on a project along with their families. There were a lot of families. Another camp along the Colorado River was known as Ragtown, but it was technically called Williamsville. And you can hear from the picture, or you can see from the pictures, it's literally awful. Like, tell me you want to go there. You don't. It's awful. And they're super racist. We'll get into that in a second, but it's awful there. Absolutely awful. So when construction began, the 6 companies, because remember, it's 7 companies, but they're calling it 6 companies because it's a racist Chinese joke. That's the whole thing. They hired large numbers of workers. They had more than 3,000 people on payroll by 1932, and by 1934, they had over 5,000 employees. I learned recently about divorce ranches in Reno, Nevada, where women would establish residency because they had some of the most permissive divorce laws in the country, and then it helped them establish Vegas as a place to go get married fast. I haven't looked very far into it, but I think it would make a fun stream. That is interesting. Divorce ranches. I'm divorcing you and I'm taking the ranch. So, Mongolian Chinese. They called them Mongolians. That is literally wrong. They're Chinese. Chinese labor was prevented in the construction contract. So remember how I told you that 6 companies was like kind of to advocate for Chinese people? This is why it exists, because of contracts like this. Because lots of railroad companies would use Chinese workers and just kill a bunch of them. Like they would literally be like, go blow yourself up for us. And it would just happen. So the government was like, you're not doing that. You have to hire not Chinese people, partially because of nativism. Nativism is dislike of immigrants. A lot of it was because they did not like immigrants. And then I also think some of it was because of like working conditions stuff. Because keep in mind, this is right after like the progressive movement where we got some worker protection and things like that. So I think the best thing to do would have been like hire anybody and treat them very well. But instead they were like, you guys keep being mean to those Chinese people, so we're not letting them over here. Because we don't like it. And we don't like them either. Did people know the difference between Japanese and Chinese? Because the whole concentration camps was not too far from this. Did people know? Yes. Did most people know? No. Men don't show up to random job sites in the desert and demand a job so they can provide for their families anymore. Now they just buy podcast equipment. The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna was set during this time period. It also talked about squatter camps and showed similar photos. Ooh. So they were like, you're not hiring Chinese people, but they called them Mongolian, which is not even correct. And the number of black people hired never exceeded 30. So out of 5,000 employees at their peak, 21,000 over the years, because most people didn't stay the whole time, they only ever had at most 30 black workers who worked on a segregated crew and were issued separate water buckets and were the lowest paid of anyone there. So like I said, it's super racist. They did hire some native people, but not that many, and they made them do the high scaling jobs, which is also super dangerous. So it was pretty much all white men working on this, with the exception of about 30 black men working very dangerous jobs, and I'm not sure how many native indigenous men also working dangerous jobs. When your company says we don't see color and it's because of their discriminatory hiring practices. Here, damn. That was really funny. Okay, so this is Boulder City. Now they are actually starting to build a town. What I also think is if this was 2026, I don't even think they would build a town. Like, I think they would be like, I don't know, go somewhere. We're building a dam. You figure out where you live. Why would that be on us? So it's like kind of government housing, but kind of company housing. Like I thought someone was coming into my garage. Nope. Someone's coming into my garage. We had to move our cars so that the guy could go in the crawl space and look at the water. Yeah. Coachella almost. This is like Coachella if Coachella fucking sucked. Damn Joe. So this was to house the workers. I love how they just have trash everywhere. They're like, fuck it. Trash. Here's an aerial view. It's super blurry because, again, it's the 20s. But it's just a small little city. It's still there. Boulder City. So, the original plan was to build Boulder City before the dam. But President Hoover was like, start the dam right now. Here's a tent, be up by 6 a.m. For those of you on TikTok, you have to come to Twitch to see the pictures and the videos. It's free. You do have to make an account, but you can do it on your phone. It's free. You can also put it like on your TV or your computer or whatever. You can see pictures, you can see videos. It's like a whole thing. So, because President Hoover wanted to start the dam early, they were like, okay, we'll just put bunk beds and we'll attach them to the canyon wall. Not me realizing the name Hoover was because of Herbert Hoover. Also because, if you look back, we talked about this at the beginning, in 1922, when they came up with the idea, he was the Secretary of Commerce. Now he's the president, and he's like, you better start that fucking dam right fucking now. Right now. Start it now. So he wanted to start it in March rather than waiting till October. So the company just built bunk houses attached to the canyon wall to house 480 men, and they called it River Camp. Bitch, he's the owner of this house. You guys are so fucking funny. Who wants to be my canyon bunk buddy? I call top bunk. No, I call the top bunk. I call the top bunk. It's for me. I want it. I know that I would be making so many friends there. I would make so much friends. What do you mean? Let's attach bunk beds to the cavern wall. Bunk houses. So large, skinny rooms with many bunk beds. Let's make a bracelet. Imagine, I'm a Walmart parking lot on Twitch. It's linked on my website. If you go to mrdacted.com, it's a button on there. Imagine, guys, let's tell scary stories. Imagine you've been literally building a dam all day. You've been building a literal dam, doing hard labor, and I am just cracking jokes in the dark. No one can sleep. Explored each other's bodies. I think they did. I think they did explore each other's bodies. This is why they hire their friends. The jokes are echoing because of the canyon. Everyone's laughs are just echoing. Okay, so River Camp was for the single men. They said if you have a family, you can go to Ragtown. Reminder, this is Ragtown. So your accommodation options are build a shack in the middle of nowhere, or stay in the bunk bed house with 480 single men. You know it smelled bad in there. Keep in mind, no running water, no electricity, because that's what we're here to build, is running water and electricity. Oh, God. So, a bunch of them live in the bunk beds, and a bunch of them just live outside. And not only are you living outside, it is 119 degrees. 119 degrees. Oh, I'm confident sex workers were here. If you watch my stream about sex workers who settled the West, there was a lady who was like had a wagon, like she was like a sex worker on wheels, and she would park her wagon at the bottom of the hill so they would have a really easy time getting to her, and then they'd have to go up the hill to get home to fucking Ragtown or Ragtown similar. 1, build shack. 2, bachelor bunk bed bunkers. I would have been having a time at the bunkhouse, I can tell you that. Hike of shame to Ragtown, the original Love Island. So, the summer of 1931 was especially hot. The daytime average is 119 degrees, 48.8 Celsius for any Europeans or non-Americans here. I guess everyone uses it except us. So 16 workers and other riverbank residents died of heat this summer. I want to know who the fuck is living there that's not working on the dam? Who was like, oh, I just like it here? Who? You just want to live in the fucking... Why would you live there? Go literally anywhere else. Like, why would anyone want to be there? Like, oh, God. There was a woman. There was one singular woman. She is there. She has her fucking big-ass collar. She is not staying in that dorm house thing, whatever the fuck they have going on in there. If my husband brought me and my kids here, I'd kill him. Like, I'm sorry, a good husband goes and builds the dam and sends money back. Like, you cannot have your family at fucking Ragtown. I'm sorry, you just can't. They should do a mini-series on the Hoover Dam, but it's just men exploring gay relationships. I was moved to Arizona from California as a kid, and I was pissed. Like, why was this a choice? My 87-year-old grandma says 105 degrees is quite nice and will still have her sweater on. Oh, God. So Mabel McFerrin Rockwell was the only woman involved in the design and the installation of the power machinery for Hoover Dam. She worked on the economic design of the transmission. So this fucking diva right here, just had to give her a shout out. So did they have unions? No, kind of. So the industrial workers of the world, or the Wobblies, were much reduced from their heyday. So keep in mind, like, the big union moment was like the late 1800s. You got me. So they sent union representatives there, but the unions just weren't as powerful as they need to. So they sent 11 union organizers, and a bunch of them got arrested by the Las Vegas police. So on August 7th, 1931, the company cut wages for all tunnel workers, which I guess is people building tunnels. So the workers did not want to join. They sent them away. They were like, we don't want to be a part of you. Because keep in mind, some of the unions were really corrupt. Some of them had been involved in a lot of violence. So the workers were like, nope, no thank you. Get out of here. And the workers themselves, without the union, formed a committee to represent themselves. So not a union, but a committee. They drew up a list of demands and presented them to Crow the following morning, and he was non-committal. The workers hoped that Crow, who again, Crow's like the damn guy, he's the superintendent of the job. They hoped he would be sympathetic, but instead he just bitched to the newspaper about it and said they were malcontents. So the morning of the 9th, Crow met with the committee and told them that management was refusing their demands, stopping all work, and laying off the entire workforce except for a few office people and carpenters, and the workers were given until 5 p.m. to vacate the premises. They were obviously scared, so most of them took their paychecks and went to Las Vegas to see what happened next. And the remainder of the workers left 2 days later when law enforcement showed up. So when the police were like, could you please just fucking leave? They were like, okay, fine. So there wasn't violence, but yeah. And then on August 13th, the company started hiring workers again, and the strike was called off. So the workers did not receive any of their demands, but the company agreed we will not cut wages again, which was like originally what set this off. So they didn't get everything they wanted, but the company started treating them a little bit nicer after this because they did show like we will all work together essentially. So living conditions did improve a little bit, but not great, and they didn't have their wages cut anymore. Because keep in mind, it's the Great Depression, so plenty of people signing up for a job, no matter how low it pays. One day to move out of Ragtown is crazy. They're like, how many rags do you have? How long could it take? 20 minutes? So the men who built the Hoover Dam worked through some of the harshest conditions of the Great Depression. They carved roads, they blasted canyon walls, they had to pour concrete, and many workers arrived with their families looking for jobs and lived in Ragtown. And there is a human side to the story of the Hoover Dam. There was hardship, courage, sacrifice, and thousands of people whose labor helped transform the Colorado River and to create Lake Mead. And that's the real story of this. And that's what I'm going to be talking about for the next hour is like the workers, what they lived through and what they built and what they did. Because ultimately the presidents of the 6 companies, who the fuck cares about them? Like, were they there building it? No. I love how America is driven by one thing, and it's capitalism, literally. So here are some of the workers. I love that we have pictures of this. This is why I like more modern history stuff. So actual construction did not begin until April 1931, but men and their families began drifting into Vegas since 1929, like we said, because the stock market crashed in the Great Depression. Where else were they going to go? So they came with all of their stuff and their wives and their children and no money. And Vegas was a desert outpost and was not prepared for this, so they had no choice but to live in tent cities while dam construction was still months and months away, and there was no guarantee of any employment, but they had nowhere else to go, and they had no money to get there. So, through the benevolence, the kindness of many citizens of Las Vegas provided them food and clothing, and these people managed to survive through very, very, very tough conditions. It literally sounds like hell on earth. So because they pushed construction earlier, they had no space to live in. So living conditions in Las Vegas would become worse for many workers, since most people equated to being close to the dam site to getting a job. Most of them just lived in tent cities next to the job site, but some of them would commute 30 miles over a bumpy road in the dust. And some of them did have cars, so they do have cars, but still, that's a rough commute. And I just want to say, I was there for 1 hour, almost passed out, and was covered in heat rash, despite me having a shirt on to protect my skin, a full Stanley cup of ice water, and being covered in sunscreen. And I was there for 1 singular hour, and I was like, we have to go. I ran back to the car. I could feel my body shutting down. I cannot imagine doing manual labor here for days and days on end. 30 miles, my hemorrhoids could never, that's hilarious. So Ragtown was on the floor of the Black Canyon. I think it's called the ground when you're outside. It was tents, cardboard boxes, tin scraps, and anything else they could use. Ragtown swelled to 1,400 people and ended up ballooning all the way up to 5,000 men, women, and children. And some days it would get as high as 130 degrees on the floor of the canyon. There would be lots of dust and there's no shade. Over 25 men, women, and children died in that first summer due to the conditions. And women would drape wet cloths over babies to try and cool them down. There was no milk and they could only eat canned food. So all they have is river water and canned food. It was only sufficient for bathing. So where are they getting water? I don't know. Literally saying Vegas is too much. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke is no joke. You can live here for years and the heat will get you. It's a silent killer sometimes. It's super, super dangerous. I want to give a fucking shout out to Merle motherfucking Emery. Merle and his family provided compassionate relief. They opened a store in Ragtown to give people food and supplies that he would truck in from Las Vegas, which is 30 miles away. And workers only made 50 cents an hour, so he allowed them to pay whatever they could afford. And he had the honor system and would give people credit to buy food for their family. Only one person failed to pay his debt. And that was because he died. This guy is a fucking G. You're running a store. It's pay what you can, pay when you can, and literally everyone paid. Like, this shows we can be good. At least none of them were on SSRIs, making them more heat sensitive. Phenomenal point. Anytime I'm like having a heat problem, people are like, are you on an SSRI? And I'm not. Like, no shame if you are, but I don't know what the fuck would happen to me if I was, because I can't even handle heat like regularly. That's so awesome, but I don't think it would happen again. I agree. He did not get any help from the government, and he was the one that gave food and tangible needs to all of these people. He is going to come up in the game tonight. He rocks. I am obsessed with him. There was a lot of racism. This is a very old article, so it does use the word blacks, which I don't love. So, like pretty much everything, it was way worse for the black workers than the white workers. Like 130 degrees is bad for anybody, but keep in mind that the black workers did not have as much access to water. They were on segregated crews and they were making less money. So many black Americans came from Vegas and Black Canyon trying to find a job. Most of them were turned away because of racism. And the federal government mandated that the 6 companies hire black workers, but they hired less than 30. So they were like, look, there's literally some right here. Are you not seeing that? And they were only given demeaning jobs such as debris cleanup and other labor functions that were undesired by white workers. Girl, it's the Great Depression and you live at Ragtown and you're going to have the audacity to be like, I don't want to do the hard job. Bitch, it's fucking Ragtown. We all have a hard job. Why would you bring racism into this? So they had employment practices, like I said, that restricted the hiring of Chinese immigrants as well. And they did hire some indigenous people, but not that many. And that makes no sense to me because, like, you are literally trying to move a mountain and control a river. So wouldn't you think that the people whose families have been on that land for generations would know the most about the river and its qualities and patterns and movements? That's what I would think. Like, they lived here successfully, so wouldn't they kind of be seen as like a expert? My husband is wondering what kind of PPE they had. You are looking at it. If you saw some of the pictures, they have hats and sometimes gloves. So, in spite of an abundance of indigenous Americans in the region, only a few were ever hired, and they were given the jobs of high scaling, which was dangling on the walls, clearing obstructions for the eventual joining of the dams through the cliffs. So they were paid a higher hourly rate, and they were permitted to live in Ragtown and eventually in Boulder City. But again, they are doing the most dangerous job. So it makes sense that they're making more money because their job is hard as fuck and way more dangerous. So there's not a ton of Native people on these crews, but there were some working there. Here is their job. So do you see why they're making more money than the people shoveling dirt? Because they're literally hanging from the sky and like clearing rocks from the sky so that they don't fall on the workers, is I think what's happening. And this is them looking down on the Colorado River. Here is the plan for what is going to happen here. So we're looking at the side that doesn't have the lake on it. Like the lake is behind the dam. So you can see there's these intake towers that are 395 feet in height. The Arizona spillway, which we will get into, it's on the Arizona side, and it's basically if the dam is too full, that's where the water diverts to. And then you can see all this stuff that's like in the earth, like all these tunnels and things like that. So this is a TED Ed about it that I really liked. And for those of you on TikTok, you have to come to Twitch to see the video. I'm sorry. TikTok hates me and I keep getting in trouble on here. Now I can have my drink.
High above the floor of Nevada's Black Canyon, a group of men rappelled down the cliff face. Suddenly, a man stumbled over the canyon rim. He plummeted past the men, too fast for them to grab, when another climber swung out from the rocks and carried him to safety. Once they'd rappelled the engineer up the cliff, his savior swung back to business as usual.
Crazy.
Just another day in the construction of the Hoover Dam. In the early 20th century, the United States had expanded from coast to coast, but many cities in the arid Southwest still lacked reliable water sources. While the Colorado River had been diverted into a series of canals, its erratic flow and frequent floods made it unreliable for agriculture. At the same time, the region's growing cities and industry...
I do want to say something about the erratic flow and the agriculture is that when a river floods a riverbank like that, it is putting lots of nutrients into the water, and this is why indigenous people rotate their crops, and a lot of indigenous people in this part of what is now the United States were nomadic because they would kind of move depending on what the river was doing. And someone who brought up the Dust Bowl, when you don't have the river flooding these areas, it is more conducive to dust because the soil loses its quality. And the Dust Bowl started after this construction. So again, it did affect them, but it wasn't right here. So they weren't in it as much. But part of the reason the Dust Bowl happened was because of unsustainable agriculture practices. And rivers flooding a riverbank is like a natural process that's good for the soil. It's bad for humans because then we can't be there. But that is how it's supposed to work.
Continually needed more energy. So in 1922, the Bureau of Reclamation decided to solve all these problems in one fell swoop by building a massive hydroelectric dam. Ensuring water rights for the project required unprecedented cooperation between all 7 states along the river. But once local governments agreed, the Bureau determined that Black Canyon's narrow gorge was best suited for an arch gravity dam. This design curves upstream, using the force of oncoming water to push the structure into its supports, in this case the canyon walls. Arch dams had been built since ancient times, but never on such a massive scale. When complete, the structure would be 221 by 379 meters. It would take an enormous labor force to build a dam this massive, and when the Great Depression struck only a year after the project's approval, thousands of families looking for work began flocking to the site. The earliest arrivals lived in a makeshift encampment called Ragtown. With no infrastructure, scarce supplies, and little protection from the elements, several residents died of heat stroke. So to better house workers, the government designed and built the still thriving Boulder City, complete with numerous amenities, including a state-of-the-art hospital. Before construction on the dam could begin, the entire river had to be rerouted. Building these diversion tunnels required blasting into each side of the canyon to create 17-meter-tall tubes. With a combined length of almost 5 kilometers, these tunnels could divert roughly 5,000...
Because this is what I was wondering. I was like, where the fuck do y'all put the water while you're working? How does that work? But they literally just like put it around to create this dry area to work.
600 cubic meters of water per second. However, workers faced grueling conditions to finish these on time, and dozens succumbed to the scorching heat. By the fall of 1932, the river had been successfully redirected, but the most dangerous work was still ahead. Over 1 million cubic meters of loose rock needed to be cleared from the canyon walls. So foremen brought in high scalers who descended the cliffs on ropes, removing rubble with jackhammers and dynamite. From circus acrobats and former sailors to local Apache, these death-defying individuals performed some of the most dangerous and glamorous work on site.
Because keep in mind, it's the Great Depression. So people, men, they didn't hire women, who were like office workers and chefs and whatever the fuck, this is the job that's available. And this is a little piece of advice, ladies. Do not marry someone unless you think they would do this job to prevent you and your children from starving. This or nothing. If you would not take a job scaling the walls of this canyon and blowing it up with dynamite so that I can live, I don't need it. You know what I mean?
After the walls were cleared, it was finally time to build the dam. This required pouring over 6.6 million tons of concrete, enough to pave a road across the entire U.S. But so much concrete poured at once would take far too long to cool and harden. So to speed this process up, concrete was poured in interlocking blocks of varying sizes, each containing steel pipes flowing with cold water. By 1935, most of the structure had been completed 2 years ahead of schedule.
Which is crazy.
On February 1st, the diversion tunnels opened to fill the dam's reservoir, capable of holding twice the Colorado River's annual flow. Upon completion, the dam was the tallest man-made structure in the world. However, the speed of its construction came at the cost of worker safety. While this project employed roughly 21,000 Americans during a major economic crisis, over 100 people died during construction. Creating the reservoir also destroyed communities like St. Thomas and devastated the Colorado River ecosystem. Today, the Hoover Dam generates over 4 billion kilowatt hours annually, providing electricity for over 1.3 million people. But the consequences of its construction continue to cast a shadow over this monumental structure. If you think the Hoover Dam...
I love that video. Especially, let me show the graphic that it showed again. So this, to me, is everything. Because I am stupid. And so I thought the water went down that giant hill. That was what I thought. No, everything happens underneath. Because I was there and I was like, so when do we open it? Let's open this motherfucker up. Like, let the water go. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been to a small dam where it did come over the top and go down, and I've seen that. But this makes more sense. And those giant towers, the water comes into them and goes underneath. And that's how it makes the electricity. So, this, like... The concept of diverting a river is crazy to me. What do you mean? What? You diverted to what? How? Because water, like, think about if you've ever been in the ocean and you get hit with a big wave, water is heavy and water is powerful. So how do you just move a whole river? I just don't, like, I understand it intellectually, but I just can't, like, I don't get it. Like, I don't, what? Like, a gallon of water is 8 pounds. Exactly, like, how? I don't understand. And the concept of a government project being ahead of schedule. I know over 120 people died, which feels important, but I can think of other government projects where people also died that weren't ahead of schedule. So this is crazy to me. So before they could build the dam, they had to divert the river through the tunnels like we talked about. That was done by 1933 with a $3,000 per day penalty for delays. So that's crazy. And they tried to do a lot of it in winter because the water level is lower. So I guess it's easier and safer to do it in winter. I have not done a stream about the Panama Canal, but I should because I did live next to it. So I have things to say about it. So work on the Nevada tunnels began May 1931 and followed shortly by the Arizona tunnels. And yeah, they diverted the fucking river, which is crazy. And once the dam was completed, the outer tunnels were sealed and converted into the dam's spillway, and the inner tunnels were used to carry water from the intake towers to the power plant. So it's not like those tunnels just like got abandoned and never used again. They were a part of the long-term plan. So they had to do groundworks, rock clearance, and grout curtain, whatever the fuck a grout curtain is. That sounds like a slur. So before construction could begin, workers built 2 massive cofferdams to keep the Colorado River out of the construction site. And here's a picture of that, I guess. So once the site was dry, they had to excavate the riverbed and the canyon walls because you can't just have a bunch of fucking dirt sitting around there. We have construction to do. And they needed a stable foundation for the dam. Because if you pour a bunch of concrete onto like sand and rock, it's just going to fall over. It's never going to be stable. So they had to clear it and get it very nice and level and flat and stable and good before they began construction. So specialized workers called high scalers would go up there with rocks and dynamite. And falling rocks were the leading cause of death on this project. So that's why they're so important, because they're clearing away the falling rocks. So they have one of the most dangerous jobs and one of the most important jobs because their job is making it safer for the other workers. So, to strengthen the foundation, they created a grout curtain by drilling 393 holes that were 150 feet deep into the canyon walls and bedrock and filling them with grout. This helped stabilize the rock, preventing water from seeping around the dam and reducing the upward water pressure beneath it. 58 holes were left incompletely filled because of time constraints and unexpected geological conditions. After the reservoir was filled, leaks were discovered and they drilled additional holes and reinforced this over 9 years afterwards. So it was done, but they like kind of rushed it. They're just blowing shit up, man. They finished early because Herbert Hoover was yelling at them. He was like, finish the fucking dam. Like they wanted it. They wanted it. And keep in mind, they're the only people with jobs. So if they're like, if you don't finish it, we're going to fire you. They were like, yes, sir. Let's get this done. So they're using dynamite. They're blowing shit up. There's water everywhere. It's like over 100 degrees. You can see they're clearing the dirt. There's the river before it got diverted. I guess it's in the mountain at this point. To pour the concrete, blowing shit up with homemade dynamite. So to pour the concrete, if they had poured all of it at once, it never would have dried. That would have literally taken forever. So they were doing like individual columns, and then they put tubes in the columns with cold water to help dry it faster. Because again, it is 120 degrees outside. So here's a picture of it under construction before it's done. So you can see that the water towers are super tall, but they don't go all the way to the bottom. They're on like the sides. And then look at the fucking tubes, man. Look at that tube. Look at it. That's crazy. They were not paying the government that $7 million. Yeah, they essentially had like a ransom over them. Oh, I miss school. I know who you are. Thanks for being here. The important people are in the tubes. Fuck you. If you have a suit at the Hoover Dam construction site, you're evil. I know you are. I can see it in your eyes that you're evil and you have bad intentions. Anyone in a suit at the Hoover Dam construction site, I don't trust them. I do not trust them. I'm picturing Herbert standing there with a megaphone shouting at them. I'm so mad that they took this picture. Get out of the tube if you're evil. They're evil. Look at their little fuck-ass hats and ties. This is crazy as hell. Because like I said, I was at the top part where it's 45 feet wide. So it's like a road, and then there's a sidewalk on each side. Look how thick it is at the bottom. I didn't know they had all that going on down there. That's crazy. So this is looking upstream. So this is where it's like curved, which I'll show you pictures of. And this is 1934. And Hoover's like, did you know you have 20 minutes? Did you know you have 20 fucking minutes to finish the dam? So concrete. So the first concrete was poured 18 months ahead of schedule because if they had poured all of it as a solid block, it would have taken 125 years to cool. I wish that I could have been in the meeting where the guy that already gave the $7 million bond was told that the concrete is going to take 125 years to cool. Because you know that was plan A. They were like, yeah, we'll pour the concrete. Great. And the engineer was like, so the concrete will actually take 125 years to cool. It would still be drying today, which is insane. It'd be almost done. The Hoover Dam would be almost done. So instead, they built interlocking concrete blocks, which to me is probably safer and probably stronger to have a bunch of small blocks interconnected as opposed to one giant block. Because if you have one giant block, it can crack. But if you have a bunch of small ones interconnected, one crack isn't going to break the whole thing, I think. So, where was I? So once the concrete had cured, they put gaps with grout to strengthen the structure. So concrete was transported in steel buckets, and then they were used on cableways to their exact location and shroop. There is a myth that the workers were buried inside the dam. That's not true. They only poured 1 inch of concrete at a time, so everyone would have known about it. I'm not saying they wouldn't do that. I'm just saying logistically it didn't make sense, so I don't think that they did. So by the time pouring ended, again, they started pouring June 1933. They finished pouring May 1935. They had used 3.25 million yards of concrete and another 1.1 million cubic yards for the power plant. It also has more than 582 miles of cooling pipes. And like we said, it's enough concrete to go from San Francisco to New York. And test in 1995, they showed that the concrete continues to gain strength. How is it getting stronger? I guess because it's interlocking. The more pressure that's been on it for years, it just further interlocks to itself. Earthquake safe if the blocks can flex. I don't feel like this is earthquake safe. Probably a little bit. I'm going to look it up. Hoover Dam earthquake. Okay, it keeps telling me about tiny ones nearby. It says that yes, it can sustain most earthquakes, but if a huge earthquake happened right there, it would be fucked. But other earthquakes are okay. What doesn't kill us makes the concrete stronger. So, another little mini labor movement moment. A second labor action took place in 1935 as construction was winding down because a manager altered working time so they stopped having a paid lunch. He was like, you can take a lunch on your own time. And the workers said, we'll fucking kill you. We'll kill you. No, they didn't. They went on strike. So, emboldened by the reversal of the lunch decree, they said, and we want another $1 every day. We want $1 more a day. Please. Because they realized, damn, it works when we stop working. Okay. So they asked for more money, and so the company asked the government for more money, and the government was like, no, it's the Great Depression. Tell them to get over it. And the strike did end. So they did not get their money, but they did get their lunch, which is good for them. They did have a lot of construction deaths. I saw this when I was here, but I didn't read it because it was in this moment I was starting to have heat stroke, I think. This is crazy. It's this statue of this man rising from the water, and it says they died to make the desert bloom. Oh my God, Steffi, you made an account for this? Welcome. I love when people make an account for this. So, crazy as hell inscription. Why would you put that as their remembrance? I bet that manager was still eating lunch. No, literally. Literally. The concrete used in the Hoover Dam continues to cure to this day. The unique chemical composition combined with the constant pressure contributes to the ongoing hardening process. That is awesome. That is awesome that it's just getting stronger. I love everything about that. Absolutely. So there were 112 deaths reported on construction of the dam. The first person that died was actually 10 years before construction because he fell off the barge while they were surveying. Isn't that sad? It hadn't even started and you already died. And you were just the surveyor. You definitely didn't think you were going to die. Because a bunch of the men that signed up to go on the ropes, they were like, yep, I could die. At least then my family will have $1. He was too excited. That would be so me, to be too excited. That is literally the equivalent of me hurling my body over the wall so that I could see better. And Stephen and Lou being like, please do not do that to yourself. But this is what people don't understand. If you are a tall person and you are leaning over a wall, the majority of your body weight is over the wall. So if someone pushes you, you're going to fall. When the wall goes up to my neck, the majority of my body weight is behind it. So anyway, back to this guy that died. So he fell off the barge, which is sad. And then another guy died. He was a surveyor. He died in a flash flood. And the final death occurred in 1935. The electrician and the son of the surveyor who died fell from one of the intake towers. That's crazy that him and his dad died. Like, you didn't want to stop working there after your dad? Maybe you wanted to, like, finish his thing because he was one of the first deaths and you were one of the last. That's poetic. Wow. Because I, like, skimmed this, but I didn't read the part about them being related. I just thought they were two different guys that died. 3 workers did kill themselves. I mean, it is 120 degrees and you're working on a day. Would it be bad if I said I'm surprised it's only 3? 1 in 1932 and 2 in 1933. Of the 112 fatalities, 91 were 6 in company employees, 3 were Bureau of Reclamation employees, 1 was a visitor, and the remainder were employees of various contractors that were brought into the job. 96 of the deaths occurred at the construction site, but what they did not include was workers that died of pneumonia. And the workers say, no, they did not have pneumonia. They were covering for carbon monoxide poisoning. Why was there a visitor at the site? I think maybe it was like, this is what I think probably happened. I have no evidence of this. I bet one of those fucking losers in a suit brought one of his friends. I bet you that's what happened. Because who else would be visiting? Or maybe it was like a local teen poking around and they got hurt. In that case, that would be very sad. If it was a suit loser, I don't care. So workers alleged that there was carbon monoxide poisoning and they were saying it was pneumonia. And the classification of pneumonia was so that the company would not have to pay compensation claims. And the diversion tunnels were frequently 140 degrees and they had a lot of vehicle exhaust in them because they have equipment in there. And 42 workers died of pneumonia who were working in there. No one is listed as dying from carbon monoxide poisoning, and no deaths of non-workers were from pneumonia. Because it'd be one thing if it was like, oh, a fuck ton of people got pneumonia, but the only people who got pneumonia were the ones working around the equipment. So they were like, that was not pneumonia. Because if it was pneumonia, other people would have had it too. So the architecture there is very slay. It's Art Deco-y. It's like super 1920s, like gold and like that Art Deco style. They also placed clocks on the intake towers because it's on a time zone change. And time zones were very new because of the railroad industry. So they were like, isn't that fun? Fun and exciting. So they display the same time for much of the year because Arizona does not observe daylight savings time, but they are technically in 2 different time zones. And they hired an artist, Alan Tupper True, to design decorative walls and floors using Navajo and Pueblo patterns. And his artwork features symbols of rain, lightning, clouds, wildlife, the southwestern landscape, lots of that stuff. They hired a sculptor, Oscar J.W. Hansen, to construct the sculpture and the memorials, including the dedication plaza, the memorial to the workers who died, and the 30-foot bronze-winged figures of the Republic. At the base of the monument is a star map showing the exact position of the Northern Hemisphere sky at the moment that FDR dedicated the dam, and the star map was intended to allow future astronomers to determine the exact dedication date thousands of years later. No, I didn't see the memorial for the dog. Like I told you, I was only there for like 45 minutes. It's super 1920s-y though. So like this is like a doorway elevator thing, I think. I don't know. I think I took this picture and I don't know what it is of. But there's lots of gold there. They have like the kind of southwesty terracotta looking stuff. It's a very, very cool place, which I wasn't really expecting. Even like the restroom signs, like it's just very 1920s core. And you can see like the tower with that gold and the design. And this is the other thing that I feel like I was saying, now I feel like the government expects less out of companies. Also, like, it should be pretty. I'm glad that they hired an artist and like made it fucking cool. And also keep in mind, actually we'll get to this. So this is the floor map that looks like the stars. I don't know, again, science at a Christian school. Here's the towers, so you can see them from the back side, and then from the front side you can see Nevada time and Arizona time. Obviously these pictures were not taken at the same place. So they finished the dam in 1935. This is Hoover. I can't believe I stood at the same spot as him. That's crazy. This is Hoover at the dam dedication of them being like, the dam is done. It is insane how fast they built this. This was done in like 5 years. Less than that, because they started in like, yeah. The Hoover Dam is an astrology girly. For real. So they finished the dam. They were not done with the power stuff. So the dam is done. You can see the water's back in, but they're not done with the power parts of it. But they're going to go ahead and dedicate it. So the ceremony was arranged for September 30th, 1935 to coincide with a Western tour being made by FDR. The morning of the dedication, it was moved from 2 p.m. to 11 a.m. because the, well, I can't read. The Secretary of the Interior, Harold Ikes, reserved a radio slot for the 2 p.m. time, but they didn't realize it was 2 p.m. Eastern time, so that's why they had to change the time. So, despite the fact that they changed the time, like, the day of, and that it was 102 degrees, 10,000 people came to the dedication. Which is so incompetent and hilarious. Do we think Hoover wept when his baby was finally complete? We will get back to Hoover in a moment. Oh, Mr. Hoover. So FDR never mentioned Hoover, and they didn't invite him. Which is hilarious to me. When men can build a dam and don't know how to calculate a time difference. I mean, it is Ragtown. What else is there to do? I saw the bold text and gasp. It kills me that they were like, who? No, why would we invite him? So, to mark the occasion, they created a 3-cent stamp by the post office that said Boulder Dam. The official name from 1933 to 1947 was Boulder Dam. And that is what FDR said. He said, we are here at Boulder Dam. And then after the ceremony, he went to Las Vegas, which was the first time a president had ever been to Las Vegas, which I find very interesting. So let's talk about Hoover. Because again, why is it named for him? If he's not there, he wasn't president during the majority of the construction, like, why is he there? So, if I remember correctly, they quit doing bonds to companies because it was easier for companies with political connections to get the contract, and it was the cost of the workers' lives. They changed it to performance bonuses. Interesting. Hoover? No, literally, they were like, who? Hoover? Never heard of him. So, let's discuss the naming of the dam, and let's discuss Mr. Hoover. If you recall, he was working on this at the very beginning in the 20s when he was the Secretary of Commerce. When they were all the 7 states coming together, being like, we want to do something, he talked to them about that. And he was instrumental in the negotiations to start the project. So he was a part of the negotiations before they started construction. He was not a part of construction. He was part of the negotiations before. So, why didn't they want to mention him? Because he sucks. So this is a LA Times political cartoon commenting on the attempts of Ikes, who was what was his title again? The Secretary of the Interior. The Secretary of the Interior, they're making fun of him, basically. And it says, it can't be done, Mr. Ikes, the Hoover Dam. So, during the years of lobbying for passing legislation to authorize the dam in 1928, people called it the Boulder Dam or the Boulder Canyon Dam, even though they had gone away from Boulder Canyon and gone to Black Canyon, they kept the name. The Boulder Canyon Project Act of 1928 never mentioned a name of the dam. All it said was it is allowing the government to construct, operate, and maintain a dam and incidental works in the mainstream of the Colorado River at Black Canyon or Boulder Canyon. Because again, they were still like surveying and figuring stuff out. When Secretary of Interior Ray Wilbur spoke at the ceremony to start building the railway from Las Vegas to the dam site in 1930, he named it Hoover Dam. Because he said, Hoover is president right now. We name stuff after presidents. So let's call it the Hoover Dam. Get it? But no other president had been honored that way while they were in office. So everyone was like, but we wait till they're like old or dead, and then we name it after them. And Wilbur was like, no, listen. He was the engineer behind this. His vision and persistence made the dam possible. But again, he was not an engineer. He was the Secretary of Commerce. So, and now he's President of the United States. And one writer complained and said, the great engineer quickly drained, ditched, and then dammed the country. So this one guy was into it. Most people were not into naming it after him. So they call it the Hoover Dam because the Secretary of the Interior names it the Hoover Dam in 1930. And then an election rolls around in 1932, and Hoover loses the election. And then Secretary Ikes said, we're going to call it the Boulder Dam. So even though it was his idea, he's now like backtracking on that. Why did Hoover lose the election? Why would he lose that election? Because he's awful and sucks, and I hate him. So in the 1930 election, many Americans blamed Herbert Hoover for making the Great Depression worse, because he did. In 1930, Hoover signed the Smoot-Hawley tariff, which raised taxes on imported goods, and he was like, people will buy American goods. If this is sounding familiar, it's because it just happened and we learn nothing. So he had this tariff that caused international trade to collapse during the Great Depression. So the Great Depression became way worse because of the tariff, because people that were at least able to sell products overseas now can no longer do that, because as soon as we pass a tariff, every other country is going to pass a retaliatory tariff and not want to buy our stuff either. So, where was I? Hoover also did nothing about the Great Depression because he believed that economic recovery required individual responsibility. He said the American work ethic will get them out of this, baby. They're good. Why would I do anything? They got this. So he believed that individual responsibility was the way, and he argued that people should rely on hard work, local charities, businesses, and state governments. He did not believe that the federal government had the responsibility or had the authority to intervene on any of this. So he did not have any programs, any plans. He did not do anything. They've got bootstraps. They'll be fine. He's like, they have bootstraps. They can simply walk to Las Vegas, camp for a year, and then work on the Hoover Dam. Damn. So Hoover's optimistic public comments damaged his reputation. He kept saying prosperity is just around the corner, and he said that the worst is past, even though employment was at 25%. And he also said an economic depression cannot be cured by legislative action or executive pronouncement, and he believed that the government should not intervene and solve the crisis. So to many struggling Americans, they felt like this guy fucking sucks. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't care we don't have food. He doesn't care our children are starving. And so he lost when he ran for election, because who would vote for him? This is my favorite map. I love this map. You bitches can die in the desert. Get off my back. It can't be cured with white men either, but here we are. It's almost like when you have a progressive candidate who is running on the idea of social programs, people like that and vote for it. Who would have thought? Not me. Yes, me. If only we were at a current time of economic crisis where we had a president who was gaslighting us about it and saying it wasn't happening. If only we could run someone with very strong social views who wanted to spend money. Who would have thought? The states who leaned towards Hoover being on the opposite corner of the continent. That's a great point. Oh, God. So, after Hoover was defeated, Secretary Ikes was like, we're going to call it Boulder Dam. And Ikes said that Wilbur should not have named the dam after a sitting president. So they had the same job, but they just agreed. He said Wilbur should not have named it after a president and that Congress never ratified this choice. And so it is going to be called the Boulder Dam. Unknowing to the public, Attorney General Homer Cummings informed Ikes that Congress had used the name Hoover Dam on 5 different bills appropriating the construction of the dam. So even though like the first bill didn't say Hoover Dam, all the other ones did. So the official status conferred to the name Hoover Dam had been noted on the floor of House of Representatives since 1930, but was being ignored by Ikes. So when Ikes spoke at the dedication ceremony on September 30th, 1935, he was determined, and he wrote in his diary, to try and nail down for good and all the name Boulder Dam. At one point in the speech, he said Boulder Dam 5 times within 30 seconds, and he suggested that if a dam was going to be named after someone, it should be for California Senator Hiram Johnson, who was the lead sponsor of the authorizing legislation. Roosevelt also called it Boulder Dam, and the Republican-leaning LA Times, which at the time of Ike's name change ran that editorial, reran it, showing Roosevelt reinforcing Ikes, but having no greater success. In the following years, Boulder Dam failed to fully take hold. People used both names all the time. Map makers didn't know which one to use, and it was a mess. Memories of the Great Depression faded, and Hoover to some extent rehabilitated himself through good works during and after World War II. So Hoover did some PR, and in 1947, both the House and the Senate unanimously restored the name Hoover Dam. So there's been a lot of fights over the name, which is so fucking funny to me. And this is my favorite quote of the night. Ikes, the one that was so adamant that it should be called Boulder Dam, said, "I didn't know Hoover was that small of a man to take credit for something he had nothing to do with." The tea is so funny and petty. No, it really, really is. And like, I hate Herbert Hoover. You could have had such a good legacy and like been known for great things, but after you had the Great Dam idea, you ruined the country and did nothing about the Great Depression. So that's all I think of him. And I know he rehabbed his image and now people like him, but I still don't. So on September 30th, 1935, FDR officially dedicated the dam, saying, "I came, I saw, and I was conquered, as everyone will be who sees it for the first time. This is a great feat of mankind." And again, at the time, it is the largest structure on Earth. Hoover built a dam and thought that that was good enough. And the inscription on the flagpole reads, "It is fitting that the flag of our country should fly here in honor of those men who, inspired by a vision of lonely lands," not lonely, "lonely lands made fruitful, conceived this great work, and those others whose genius and labor made that vision a reality." Oh my God, not it's still censoring you. I'll allow it. What about the people who died? Well, they do have that other plaque about them. This is just the flag one. So this is the dedication of the Hoover Dam.
Before the Hoover Dam, the Colorado River was an untamed beast, unpredictable, Over 1,400 miles of roaring water, cutting through a Southwest America that was becoming increasingly populated. By the 1920s, it attracted political attention, but not just because it was a source of destruction, but if controlled, it could be a source of water and power. And the only way to make it so would be a dam.
And we
So in
started
December
late, so we're ending
1928,
late tonight. Sorry.
President Calvin Coolidge signed the Boulder Canyon Project Act, which would go into effect 6 months later, on June 25th, 1929.
Men and machines went to work to build
I'm glad
this
you guys are
dam
happy.
of unprecedented size, this modern civil engineering wonder.
Coinciding with the early days of the Great Depression, thousands converged on Black Canyon, hoping to find work.
Highways were pushed across the desert. Railroad lines thrust their ribbons of steel through the sagebrush and cactus. And transmission lines for construction power were brought hundreds of miles across the heat-stricken wastelands of the southern Nevada desert.
I know this
Construction
is an awesome
finally
topic.
began in 1931, with the overwhelmingly daunting task of diverting the Colorado River, which required workers
Isn't
to
this
blast
footage
through the
crazy?
canyon walls, creating 4 tunnels. It would be the first step of many, and over the next 4 years, the project would see no shortage of sacrifice, on its way to becoming one of man's most storied feats of engineering.
What cost was all this done? Boulder Dam and the power hunters together cost a total of $108 million, all of which will be repaid with interest in 50 years.
When President Roosevelt dedicated the dam in 1935, he called it, quote, the greatest dam in the world. And with that, America turned a once devastating menace into an invaluable resource.
I don't like that they're calling the river a menace. The river was there first.
And national treasure. The mighty Colorado was now at the mercy of the Southwest.
It's so beautifully ugly.
Where
Like,
the
it's
Colorado
ugly, but it's
River
beautiful.
once cut through a narrow canyon, Hoover Dam now stands.
The once barren region, home to sleepy towns, soon began to bloom in full color.
Something I need to, think about that I actually might cry right now is, think about the people that worked on this. They came out there with their wives and their children with nothing because they wanted to provide for their family. And they got to build this, and a lot of them probably stayed in this area because they're saying the town's developed. Where else were they going to go? And they probably got to bring their children and be like, I built this. That is so beautiful to me. That is so beautiful that you would risk your life to build this insane infrastructure project, and you got to see it through to the end because they did it so fast.
Metropolis after metropolis came to life. Cities like Las Vegas and Los Angeles rode a wave of development, thanks to ingenuity forged at the bottom of a canyon.
The gigantic Boulder Dam, designed with its blasting of mountains and
I
changing
loved
rivers
construction
to
dads.
irrigate 235 million acres and banish forever the scourge of drought.
A new quarter of America was now open for business.
Ragtown to riches. I loved all that footage. So, key dates, May 29th, 1935, the main dam structure and power plant works were finished. Then FDR dedicates the dam in September, and then March of the following year, the rest of the construction features were finished. Like I said, the dam was done, just not every little extra thing was done right then. So here's how it works. The water goes through the intake towers and then goes through the bottom of the Hoover Dam, and that's the power plant at the bottom. Up top, you see the Arizona Spillway. Basically, there's a little shortcut off to the side so that if water gets too high, it will not go over the dam. It goes into the spillway and goes out that way, which it has had to be used before, only once. And then you can see the riverbed all the way down here. So the dead pool is where we can no longer generate electricity out of the dam because it's below the intake towers. So there would still be water in there, but there's no way for it to get into the dam. But I just know they would drill down and keep using it. I just know they would. So how does it actually work? And this is long as fuck, but we're skipping a lot of it.
But how does the Hoover Dam actually work? Well, it has two main functions: generating electricity and controlling the Colorado River. For flood protection, engineers built spillways on either side of the dam. Each one can handle almost 6,000 cubic meters of water per second. That's a ton of water. Imagine Niagara Falls suddenly appearing in the Nevada desert and you're pretty much there. And that's for each side. These spillways connect to tunnels 15 meters.
So I'm going to run it back a second so you can see it before he starts talking.
For each side.
So do you see... You guys can't see my mouse, can you? Okay, on the right side where you see that twisty-turvy highway. Do you see if you're going from like that little diamond, you go down that little road, twisty-turvy. Do you see how barren it is there? Like to the right of the dam, underneath that little curvy highway. Do you see how there's no water there? If it was so high, that's where the water would go. We're nowhere close to needing this right now. But it's that spillway over to the side. They'll show you in a second, but I wanted you to see how like dead it is. I wish I had taken a picture because I couldn't find a good one online. When we drove past it, we were like, what is that? And we like looked it up and we were like, oh, it's a spillway. And we were like, holy shit, water's never gonna touch there again. Like it was so far away from it. It literally looked like water had not been there in decades because it hasn't. Like it's dusty. You can tell like water is not coming into that spillway. And there was like spillway, so much rock, and then the water. Like there's no way it's getting anywhere close.
These spillways connect to tunnels 15 meters wide, directing excess water downstream when Lake Mead gets too full. They're basically an insurance policy. In the dam's entire history, they've only been used 2 times. Once in 1941 for testing, and again in 1983 during major floods. The dam can also release water in a more controlled way through its outlet works, basically giant valves that can be opened or closed as needed. This system irrigates over 1.5 million acres of farmland, turning parts of the desert into some of America's most productive agricultural regions. It allows farmers to grow water-intensive crops like alfalfa all year round. The dam adjusts to changing demands, increasing water flow through turbines when power is needed, opening outlet works for irrigation, and maintaining...
So this is what I didn't know, is that so much of the shit is like inside the mountain. Like I thought I was just looking at it. No, it's like under there and inside. Like that's how the water gets out. I thought it like came over this giant dam. Like I thought they like opened something and it just went like shroom.
Spillways for flood control. This design has functioned effectively for nearly 90 years, but it also created problems that its builders never anticipated. And that is because of its impact on the environment.
I'm sorry, I still need to show you the spillway more.
Functioned effectively for nearly 90 years, but it also created problems that its builders never anticipated. And that...
Okay, do you see, like, the little play button? Go a little bit to the right, that's the spillway underneath the road. Do you see how the water is nowhere fucking near there? This is the best view I've seen of it to show you what I'm trying to communicate. Because we drove over the spillway, and we were like, what's that? And then turned around and parked and then walked across. So I just cannot get over how that at once used to be full.
That is because of its impact on the environment. As we mentioned, when the Hoover Dam was first built, Lake Mead became the largest reservoir in America, deep enough to cover the whole of Pennsylvania in 30 centimeters of water. Within 6 years, the landscape had transformed. Cities like Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Los Angeles expanded beyond what the natural water supply would have supported. But it came at a cost. Beneath the lake, ancient wildlife habitats vanished overnight. The Colorado River was forever changed. Its natural flow, the seasonal floods and droughts that local species had evolved with, was now controlled by the turn of a valve. Downstream, the dam changed the river's natural temperature patterns. 4 species of fish were pushed to the brink of extinction. It also trapped the river's sediment, which had previously flowed freely, nourishing wetlands and creating natural habitats.
This is what I was saying, where like the sediment, when the river floods, it drops all that sediment onto the ground, which is really good for the soil.
In Mexico, where the Colorado River meets the sea, 6,000 square kilometers of wetlands began to disappear. Birds that had followed ancient migratory patterns for thousands of years suddenly found their routes disrupted. And as Lake Mead filled, it submerged numerous Native American archaeological sites, including an ancient Puebloan settlement known as the Lost City. Though archaeologists raced to save what they could, many artifacts remain underwater. But on the flip side, the reservoir created new ecosystems of its own. Fish species adapted to the lake environment, new wetlands formed along its shores, and plenty of animals now depend on it. Plus, it's a recreation destination for 7 million visitors every year.
There were people on jet skis. It looked really fun.
But today, Lake Mead faces a new challenge: water scarcity. The lake's surface has dropped 50 meters from its high point, creating a white bathtub ring on the canyon walls, a visible reminder of just how much water has been lost. In 2022, it fell to 27% capacity, the lowest since the 1930s. And the dam is producing 40% less electricity than at its peak. That's enough lost power to run hundreds of thousands of homes. The situation has become so serious that both Arizona and Nevada have been forced to cut their water usage. As you might expect, climate change is at least partly to blame. The Colorado River Basin has been experiencing its worst drought in 1,200 years. But there's another factor. The Southwest has simply grown far beyond what the dam's original builders could have imagined. Las Vegas alone has expanded from a small desert town of 8,000 people when the dam was built to over 660,000 people today. This is a big problem because Las Vegas gets 90% of its drinking water from Lake Mead. If the water level drops by another 18 meters, 2 intake structures will become unusable. So what is the solution here? Southern Nevada Water Authority has already built a new tunnel deeper in the lake, costing over $800 million, that guarantees reliable water supply even if the water level drops. Meanwhile, Arizona is experimenting with water banking. It's currently stored over 4.5 cubic kilometers of water in facilities across the state. And California is increasing its focus on recycled water. The Hoover Dam has enabled development throughout the Southwest for almost a century. The question now isn't whether the dam will hold. It's whether there will be enough water.
Look at the spillway. I know I keep talking about it, but to me it's like the most insane. Look how much land is between the spillway and the water that used to always have water in it. Or not always, but it a lot of times had water in it. Especially the one on the right. The one on the left you can't really see and it's like much steeper. But the one on the right is just astonishing. Because you see from my perspective, when I was there, I had no idea how any of this works. So I'm like, what's all that concrete stuff over there? What do you mean it's for when the water overflows?
Water for it to hold back. But what do you think about the future of the Hoover Dam?
I think a lot.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want to try out CyberGhost VPN,
I'm good on that. So this drawing kind of shows what we already looked at of how the water works and that spillway tunnel versus the water going through the powerhouse through the other tunnels. The Nevada wall on the Black Canyon on the left is shown solid, but the Arizona wall on the right is shown so you can see it. So it is on both sides. It's just only showing you one as a comparison. The fluted cylinders behind the dam are the intake towers, and pipes from them are the penstocks. These convey water to the turbines in the powerhouse at the foot of the dam. While the dam was being built, 4 large tunnels diverted the river, and some of these tunnels are plugged, and then they serve as penstocks and spillway outlet. So, the Hoover Dam was recognized as a civil engineering landmark in 1984. It's listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is a National Historic Landmark for its engineering innovations. Oh, we can't watch it. We'll watch it here. This is the Hoover Dam in 1980. how happy everyone is. Look how full it is. Look at how fucking full the dam is in 1980. Or the lake is. Do you see why they needed the spillway? It's like right fucking there. I see why they built that. $910 views. I am in the depths of YouTube for you all. You could drop a rock and feel it splash. Yes. Absolutely insane to me. Why isn't my thing working? So there's the spillway. I know I'm obsessed with the spillway, but I just think it's like the most obvious to show the water craziness of how much it's changed. In 1983, there was extreme flooding. There was massive, massive floods in 1983. So this is the fullest it has ever been. You literally, like you said, if you threw a rock, you could feel the rock splash back at you. So in 1983, they had to open the spillway. This is the only time they have ever opened the spillway other than when they tested it in the 40s. So a bunch of tourists came to watch. I absolutely would have. I'm pissed I wasn't there. I like if I got a time machine, I'd be like 1983 Hoover Dam spillway. They'd be like, you didn't want to kill Hitler? No. 1983 Hoover Dam spillway. Thank you. So you can see it spills over and it goes into that tunnel and goes out. And it's so crazy to see how full it is. Like, I am so deeply obsessed with this, and I'm so angry I wasn't there. She is full, for sure. So this is, oh, I put real because I found a picture, but I felt like it was AI, so I found real pictures and deleted the AI one. So there is a picture from 1983 where it's using the spillway, and then the picture on the right, I think it said it was from 2022 or 2023, from relatively recently, within the last like 5 years, of look at this is what I saw. You can see it's like all sad, there's like a bunch of dirt in it, like it does not look like water has gone anywhere near this in a very long time, and you can see the intake towers over to the side there, and I do have a video about it.
It means water levels are the lowest they've ever been, but take a look at another historic moment for the lake less than 40 years ago when the lake was overflowing into the spillways at Hoover Dam. These photos from the UNLV Library Special Collections and Archives show the water overflow from the Arizona side of the dam in August of 1983. A flood that summer sent record flows into Lake Mead. The spillways were designed to catch excess water and stop it from flowing over the top of the dam. They were only filled twice, once in 1941 as a test of the system, and again during the 1983 flood.
Absolutely insane. I want to cry about the spillways. Thank you for being so obsessed with it like I am. There's a very normal small spillway that had to get open once, and I was a kid. It was awe-inspiring. At which dam? Not Hoover, right? So, oh, this is the one that I felt like was AI. Doesn't this just kind of look like AI? I just didn't really like it. I know they didn't have AI as much in 2023, but I just didn't like this picture. It looked fake to me. So, this is insane to me. I was doing this for a while. I was really trying to not waste water, because when you're there, you're like, oh my God, we're running out of water. But I wanted to try this, and it was really cool. So, if you pour water on the, like, concrete side, if you pour it into the lake, you're just, I guess you're not wasting it because it's going back through. But if you pour it on the other side, it flies back at you because there's so much wind and heat. It like goes back into your face. It happened. I watched it happen with my eyes. Look at it. Can that fucking thing go away? Look, you can see you pour it down and it like flies back up. Isn't that crazy? I'm going to play it again. Isn't that insane? It doesn't do it all the time. You have to because we tried it and it didn't work. And then we saw some kids doing it and it did work. And we were like, let's go talk to those kids. It has to be kind of windy. We were doing it to like behind a wall. Like the wind wasn't picking it up when we were trying it and it wasn't working. It did work one of the times that I did it. And then we saw a kid do it and poured like a lot and then it all flew back in his face and he was like soaked and it was like a little bit funny. But physics is crazy. To me, physics is like magic because I don't understand it. So how many times can we talk about a spillway in one stream? Just look at how far away it is. It's on the top left. Just simply look at how not wet it is. It's so not wet. My mom took my siblings and I here and helped us do that. I think that's the moment I broke. No, literally. I was like, my brain was exploding. Please look at how fucking far away the spillway. Like, think about how much water would have to be there. I saw spillways in action during the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Interesting. So, this is bad, but I didn't think about this. And then when I read about it, I was like, oh, ugh. They're finding stuff. And some stuff that's not good in the lake as the water goes down.
We are expecting the federal government sometime this week to announce just how the water along the Colorado River is going to get distributed among the states. Meantime, though, the water levels on Lake Mead just keep dropping.
Yeah, at last check this afternoon, those levels reached a dramatic low 8 inches away from an all-time record low. So we sent 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne to Lake Mead to see just how low that is.
And we're almost done, I think, kind of.
Man made Lake Mead back in the 1930s. Man filled it about this deep with water way back then from the mighty Colorado River, making it the largest man-made reservoir in the United States. And man made Lake Mead what it is today. A home for fish, a second home for boaters, a play pool for jet skiers, and a constant concern for all of the above. Because Lake Mead is about to be at an all-time low water level. And it might stay that way for quite some time.
We'll see what other secrets Lake Mead holds.
That eerie prediction came from a journalist visiting Las Vegas and Lake Mead back in 2022, who found a gun buried in the sand along the shore.
And then I went off to my grandpa and I go, Grandpa, look what I found.
Appeared to be a human femur. It was a femur, a human thigh bone, another surprise hidden below the surface of Lake Mead. People also found bodies and a barrel full of human remains. In one of those barrels, police say they thought a person was shot and sent to the bottom of the lake for 40 years, until the water level there got down around to where it is present day.
So, that's insane. They're just finding guns and dead bodies. People have just been shucking dead bodies into Lake Mead for generations.
So we went to Lake Mead, and our friends at Lake Mead Marina took our news crew around and across Lake Mead by boat, so we could see for ourselves what the low levels look and sound and feel like. We ran into a handful of old artifacts that hadn't seen the light of day since the last time water levels got this low. Like this World War II era swamp boat, famous for their use on D-Day in 1944, sunk here into Lake Mead, but not during war, and back above water for the foreseeable future. And this massive old intake pipe used to suck water right out of the lake and provide drinking water to customers across the Las Vegas Valley. It doesn't do much of anything anymore until a few months ago, when it popped up out of the water and became one of the latest signs of just how low the levels at Lake Mead can go.
If you're very into the lake stuff, I did do a stream about the Great Lakes that's very good. It was a while ago, but you'll find it on my YouTube. Just search for it.
Our guide telling us,
We're going a little bit lower now.
Lower now, which projections say will mean less water for Nevada and Arizona next year. Officials from the Southern Nevada Water Authority, whose boat was on the water the same time we were, says it's not worried about the water supply to Las Vegas. Despite continuing growth in the valley, SNWA says Nevada consistently uses far less than its allocation. That's the result of water recycling and less outdoor watering. But even though that's an important part of the story, we know a lot of that already. And I came to Lake Mead to see what, if anything, had risen to the top. We saw old docking structures sticking out, buoys floating about, shrapnel along the shore,
They were throwing anything
and
in
an
there.
emerging island.
Although it wasn't there this time last year.
Oh, Lake
This
Lanier
island,
Stream.
growing
Forgot about
ever
that one.
taller. And we spotted this, a barrel on the island. And even though nobody said anything about rock climbing, up we went.
Anything else?
Relieved that it seemed completely full of cement. Our guide's educated guess,
It probably held a rock buoy, so when the water goes low, they tie something to that.
and that way, boaters on the lake would know the water was shallow. Now, the only
Oh, it's
evidence
shallow.
anyone boating Lake Mead needs to see that the water is shallow is the tall gray island rising up from the calm blue basin bordering Boulder City. Reporting from Lake Mead, Kyle Payne, 8 News Now.
Okay, Dr. Seuss. Okay, here's more on the water not being there.
Now to a moment of reckoning in the drought-stricken West. The nation's largest two reservoirs, Lake Mead near Las Vegas and Lake Powell in southern Utah, have fallen to their lowest levels on record. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti in Los Angeles has the latest on how several states are struggling to share the dwindling supply. Jonathan.
Angelica, the
go
deepening
somewhere
water
desert.
crisis has reached an impasse. The hope was Western states would agree on how to divide the Colorado River. That has not happened. Time and now the water is running out, and soon the federal government could take over control.
The Colorado River, a lifeline for the American West, is now a line in the sand, dividing 7 states that can't agree how to share the shrinking water supply. On one side, what are known as the upper basin states. On the other side, the lower basin.
California and other lower basin states have cut Colorado use by nearly 20% since 2015. Upper basin states have gone in the opposite direction. In the last year alone, they've increased their use over the same period.
After years of failed negotiations, the federal government
Meanwhile,
is
it
now
ends in
poised
Mexico.
to impose
Exactly.
sweeping cuts. The Colorado River
Is anyone
begins
asking
as
Mexico?
snow in the Rocky Mountains, but a warming climate means less snowpack and less snow melt, feeding the river.
So if you missed what they were just saying, the river is a result of snow melting, but because of climate change, there's less snow. So not only is it being overused, it's not being replenished as well as it used to be either.
Each spring, population growth has amplified the crisis. Lake Mead and Lake Powell, the nation's 2 largest reservoirs, have fallen to their lowest combined levels on record, both less than 30% full. California, Arizona, and Nevada have offered to cut their use by about 1.6 million acre feet a year for the next 2 years, roughly 500 billion gallons. But federal officials are considering cuts nearly twice that amount. It would mean higher costs for cities trying to secure water, tighter restrictions on outdoor watering, and major changes for farmers
Why
who
do
use
people,
the
like,
majority
we shouldn't
of
have
the
grass
river's
in
supply.
places where it
I
can't
would
grow
urge those
naturally.
people living in those states to contact their elected representatives and really urge them to come to the table and come up with some sort of agreement.
So it seems like the states on the lower side of the dam are really trying to cut water and do something, and the ones on the upper side are like, well, there's tons of water right there. Is it not getting to you? What's the problem?
If Lake Powell drops just another 33 feet, the nation's 2nd largest reservoir may not have enough water to generate hydroelectric power.
Jonathan, thank you.
Because the intake towers don't go all the way to the bottom, if you recall from our many graphs. These are the pictures that I took. Oh, I guess now it's been over a month. This was at like the end of June, I think. I took these towards the end of June. Mexico. And what about us? Precisely. So you can see it's low as fuck. Not good. Not good. Apparently it's closed right now. I did make these slides like over a week ago. Or about a week ago-ish. So I don't know if it's still closed, but it's only closed to visitors. They had like some cable issues, so they closed it. RIP. And there are my sources for us. You were there last Tuesday? I made this last Wednesday. Let me look up if it's open, because it said that they closed and reopened. Is Hoover Dam open? Yes. It reopened. Yep, they fixed it. They said the dam was fine, but a cable system that they used to bring in equipment broke, so they wanted to fix it before they let people there again. Yes, it reopened on Friday. It was closed on Monday. It opened again, then they closed it again, and now it's open for normal. But you see, in what I was reading, they said, like, it was until further notice. They didn't really give, like, a thing about it. So it was closed for a couple of days. I didn't keep that good a track of my sources, but here were the ones I used the most, was, like, from the hooverdamhistory.com and Wikipedia. The lower basin states are saying you have to keep selling us the water. That is the current legal fight. Because I guess they don't have another place to get water. So if it's not being sold to them, they don't have a way to get it. Yikes. So, upcoming streams, Jennifer Tilly, Lindsay Lohan. We are going to do one on the road, but I'll be inside, so hopefully it'll work. When I stream from Frazzled, I'm in her shed, and I think that's contributing to the overheating. So if it doesn't work, I'm sorry, but we're going to try again. I will keep trying. One thing about me is I'm going to keep trying. Jennifer Tilly. Oh my goodness, who is Jennifer Tilly? Let me tell you. Let me read a little bit about her, and then we'll play our game. So she is an actress. She is a professional poker player. She is a childless icon. I love her. So she has been acting for a really long time. She was in Bullets Over Broadway, which she won an Oscar nomination for. And she is a voice character in a lot of things. She was in Family Guy. I know, the controversial phrase. And she won a World Series of Poker ladies event. She still plays professional poker. And she's very funny. She does comedy. She's been in tons and tons of different things. Like, let me pull up her IMDb. IMDb, Jennifer Tilly. IMDb? BD? Yeah. Okay, so she has been things that she's known for: Bride of Chucky, Bullets Over Broadway, Seed of Chucky, Bound. She was in Family Guy. She was Petunia from SpongeBob. She has done a bunch of different podcasts. She's in 7 Days to Vegas. She's been in, like I said, a ton of the Chucky stuff. She's been in so many things. She's been a successful actress forever, and she is a baddie. Let me show you some pictures of her. She is literally stunning. She also has some appearances she's a friend of on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I put the picture of her with her Chucky doll. She's super into fashion. Her house is cool as fuck. Like, literally, she is a baddie. A baddie. Look at her. And a lot of people called her fat. Like, she is very much a victim of, like, the super thinness value world that we live in. But she's awesome. Yes, you have totally seen her in things. If you don't know her by name, you probably know who she is. So she has a very famous ex-husband. Let me look up. Okay, this is what it is. Her ex-husband created The Symptoms. Her ex-husband created The Simpsons. His name is Sam Simon. He was the co-creator of The Simpsons. And in her divorce settlement, she owns part of The Simpsons because they created it while they were together. And her house is fucking awesome and super haunted. Let me find a picture of it. She owns a bunch of different houses. I can't find, like, good pictures of it, but she has really cool taste. She's one of those people that are like, rich people are doing the right things with their money, in my opinion. Oh, you should switch Mormonism and the grape strike because the 8th is the anniversary of the start date. Thank you. I will do that. Let me do that right now before I forget. Shoop doop doop. Delano grape strike. Mormonism is weird. And the Mormonism is weird is just going to be like, we're talking about making fun of Mormonism, basically. She's an icon for spending fame, income with class. Exactly. Interior design? Okay, whatever. We will get to her house when we do her stream. But I don't know a ton about her life, but she's had a super interesting career. She's hilarious. I love her taste. I think she's such a fun time. So I want to do a stream about her. Then we'll have Lindsay Lohan. That's going to be heavy. I am doing submissions again. We'll see how it goes. Raven Simone. We're going to switch Delano Grape Strike and Mormonism. We're doing Tom Schwartz. Then we'll do Mormonism. The Duggar Girls, where I'm just going to go through what are they up to now and what I think they should be doing, which is having fun and having rights. No stream on October 6th because I am going to be at Charlie XCX. I'm so fucking excited. I got great tickets. I'm so lit. It's going to be awesome. And then October 13th is going to be Hear Me Out. These are men that make me love being straight. So like my childhood crushes. I will tell you what inspired this stream. I was in the car with Lou and Steven and we were talking about like our childhood Disney crushes or whatever, or like our childhood celebrity crushes. And they were like, who was yours? And they will not stop making fun of me for this because I said the dad from That's So Raven. Like, I have very specific taste. So we're just going to be going through random people like that I think are really attractive. Okay, let me set up your game for you. I did make you a game this time. Bald. And the way he looks very similar to Mr. Redacted. Like, body type, hair, all of that. Okay. So this is our little game that we play. You do not have to join, but it is, you don't need an app, you don't need an account, and it's just a fun little trivia game about what we were talking about. For those of you on TikTok, I'm going to go ahead and say bye-bye to you. Also, need to tell you this before we go. TikTok just said, invite Charlie XCX to join as a guest. Really? Why don't you just call Taylor up? Do you... Okay. Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. Okay, bye TikTok. Love you so much. We're going to play this game now. TikTok, this is why you can't see the pictures in the videos. No, for fucking real. So, when you join the game, you're going to have to enter your name. If you don't want it on camera or on the screen, don't put it in there. You can put something funny. Let me find a good one for us. Maybe beach. Yeah, we have to do underwater. It's a little disrespectful, but we have to. I saw that rubble, that little mountain under the water. We have to do underwater. I'm sorry. So, pick your little character, pick your little game. Not Dave97, thank you for subscribing with Prime. If you are already paying for Amazon Prime, let's take some money away from that corporation and give it to me. Because included with your Amazon Prime subscription is a couple free subs on Twitch. So you basically subscribe to me and you do not pay for it because you're already paying for it with Prime and I make money off of it. So that's cool for me and it's cool for you because then some of your money that you're paying towards Prime is going to me instead of to the company. So everyone wins. And now I have to put new floors in my downstairs due to water. So I will be bringing that up more often. Not the floors, but subscribing. Why do I have so many text messages? That's never good. Oh, it's a group chat. I can catch up with that later. Jeff Bezos didn't flood. Let's redistribute the wealth, divas. And I bet if it did, he probably wouldn't even know about it, and it would be fixed before he came back. Fun Mr. Active new floors. I'll keep you guys posted. I don't want to say too much now because, like I said, I don't want the insurance to reject us for some... They want to reject people for reasons. It's like a whole thing. But the guy came. The remediation is starting soon. And then construction. Womp womp. Things happen. But I will say, for any part of our house to be, like, super fucked up, that part... It'll be okay. Like, it's not our kitchen. We can still cook. We still have a couch we can hang out on. That was our main hangout spot, but we do have another spot in our house where we can hang out. Like, it'll be okay. It's going to be okay. Shout out to all the names, including Boober Dam. All right, I'll give people a couple more seconds to join, and then I'm starting this mother. It's been at 26 for a few moments. You guys are going to love Jennifer Tilly. Like I said, she is a funny lady. And she is super into designer clothing and fashion and all these things. All right, I'm going to start the game. If you haven't joined, you can still join. It's just going to be harder to win. When was it completed? The game is pretty easy. Me and Lesbo in first place currently. 1935. How many unemployed people descended upon Vegas? The game might be easy, but I am dumb. You're not dumb. You're here. The number questions are hard for you guys, but this was a very numbery stream. And I didn't want to do the names of the artist and stuff. That felt hard. I think there might be one question like that. But lots of the engineers and people, I was like, they don't care. Or the laws. Major unions had no involvement. True, false, or eh. Good job. Lots of you are getting it right. Indirectly, they did not join the union, but union presence did make them get some ideas. What was the weather like at its worst? I have leftover kava in my fridge and I'm pretty excited about it. 110s to 130s. Who is the goat of the Hoover Dam? This is the only name one. Merle Emery, the guy that provided food to the workers because the company was not, or the government. What is the style of the dam? Art Deco. Imagine if it was Ray Dunn. Isn't that like the Marshalls one? How does it work? I don't know. I don't know how it works, but it does. I assure you it works. It's working as we speak. How? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I like put how does it work? And I was like, how does it work? And that's why I just made all of them right, because I realized I still don't know. After spending 5 hours making this and 3 streaming about it, still couldn't tell you. What is the dam used for? I want to water ski at the Hoover Dam so goddamn bad. That's what I want for my bachelorette party. We're going to the Hoover Dam and we're fucking water skiing. Actually, maybe. Because we hadn't considered Vegas. We'll think about it. Okay, get back to me on that one. What is a major threat to the dam these days? Everything. We're fighting about everything. Who are we learning about next week? Jennifer Tilly. Sick ass jumps not being a correct answer was so sad. They won't let me. All right, an empty school parking lot. Herbert Hoover, the damnedest of them all. What does that say? A band room parking lot. Hoover build the dam. Dam. Cat Mom, Dam Daniel, Spillway Defender, 1-800-MEGAN, Abby, Boober Dam, Riley, Saturn Cat, Not the Hoover Dam, Boulder Dam, Herbert H, Megan's Dam, Hoover Dam Gift Shop Parking Lot, Hoover, I Hardly Dam Her, a Hoover Dam Parking Lot, Aristotle, Dam Spillway, Mean Lesbo, a Hoover Dam Parking Lot, Peter, Meg, the Meg, Gun Found in the Dam. All right. Nice job. Memes, anything to add? I was going to say something. What was it? I don't remember. Oh, it was good too. Oh, when we were there, I was, because it like slopes, and when Lou and Steven were yelling at me for like hurling my body over it, I was like, I want to slide down it so fucking bad. I was like, oh, I want to go down this slide into the fucking dam. Gun Found in the Dam may not have won the game, but it won best username in my heart. So, you're telling me a Hoover built this dam? Thumbnail material. The type of man misreacts when she wants to know if a long dead engineer is hot. He's not the dad from That's So Raven, I can tell you that much. If y'all don't build that goddamn jam this instant, well, damn. Ah! These are so fucking good. Is Mitch McConnell dead? I personally think so. I think it's a vacuum gif. I don't know how he found it, learning about the Hoover Dam tonight. And he named the dam after him. Here, damn. You asked a lot. We listened. People with something really cool. This is so fucking fun. I need to save all of these and I'm putting them on Instagram. Thank you. I will be exploiting you all. I think I already saved that one. Fucking. You guys are so funny. Oh, this one I have to screenshot because you did it this way, which is fine. Actually, I'm going to do that a little bit better so that people can see that it's a collaborate board. There we go. All right. A+ work, everyone. This was an awesome stream. Thank you for getting me through the condolences of my floors being covered in water from something that is TBD, to be determined. Them in STEM, first stream, and I had a blast. I'm so glad. I would say my favorite thing about my stream community is that you guys are so welcoming to new people and always make them feel loved in the chat. So thank you so much for being here. Please use your free Prime sub. If you want to spend money on a subscription, that's really cool too. I love you so much, and I will see you next week for Jennifer Tilly. So same place, same time. I will see you next Tuesday.